We are live.
All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it is the fourth Friday, y'all know it is time for the Disciples. Of course, you know I'm one of your hosts. My name is Ed Riley. I'm not a disciple, but of course I'm one of your hosts, and so I'm going to turn it over to Ali. But before we do that. We're going to have a real impactful show tonight. Of course, we've got a number of things coming up. We're going to talk a little bit. Of course, in the first hour, we're going to talk with the disciples, and they'll introduce themselves. And then, of course, coming up after them, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Haiti and what's going on down in Cuba. And then, of course, we're going to talk after that. We're going to talk about weed, coming to local communities and what that may do to our folks. And then, of course, after that, we're going to have DJ Rhino, and DJ Rhino. After that, is going to tell us what's going on in hip hop. So I'm going to turn it over to my brother Ali as I guess we wait for the rest of the disciples to join us. All right.
Okay. Well, grace and peace be unto you from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. This is your boy, your man, Pastor in the Hood Ali, better known as Overseer Brian Ali, Senior Pastor of the New Summers Worship Center, located at 14th Street and Avon Avenue, inside the Mount Olivet Baptist Church. And it's good to be here on another Friday. Let me first give a shout out to the memory of Biz Marquis, good brother, sincere brother, and who transitioned. And I just want to honor his memory at the top of the show, because I know him from back in the day when he was really at the top of his game, and then when he was first coming out, and I was in the hotel business, and he spent a lot of time at the hotel where I did work at. So just want to remember him. And just things are going on in the hood. It's summertime. Things are going on around the world, and it's summertime. And here it is. We here in the hood among the disciples, waiting for my colleagues to come on. It's a little struggle right now for them to get on, and they looking for links and stuff like that. But they'll be here soon, and we believe that it's going to be a great show. So how are you today? What is life doing for you today? How is life treating you? Is this the best day of your life? Are you anticipating tomorrow being even better? Are you in the struggle like so many others? And I want you to understand how you look at life determines how you live life. Let me say that again. How you look at life determines how you live life. If you see all nothing but destruction, then you believe your hope is hopeless, so to speak. If all you look at, we have a thing that we say in Christian Zone, that we walk by faith and not by sight. Walk by faith and not by sight. So I'm just getting my little mustache together and everything, and so I don't look all crazy on here. And that's what I've been doing, walking by faith and not by sight. If I could really say this, that with all the trials and tribulations that are going on throughout the land, if all I did was focus on what's going on throughout the land, I would be of many men most miserable. But because I focus on the Creator and the Lord of my life, I can make it and go further. So I'm glad to see my partners in here, and I'll let him come on in. I'll do Haq Muhammad. What's up, sir? Glad
Assalamu
you could get
alaikum, my
on.
dear brother.
Walaikum assalam.
Brother Ed, I did have it. I didn't see it, brother.
It's all good, brother.
You always.
I sent it again anyway.
You always on it, brother Ed. I really appreciate you. You as well, Pastor Ali. I heard you.
Bless you, man.
Sound like you was introducing yourself to everyone in the listening audience.
That's what I was doing.
I don't see.
Well, we in your head.
Has Reverend Rountree joined us yet?
Not yet, not yet. It's just me, you, and Ed.
Okay, seemed like everyone having a little technical difficulties here today. But all praise is due to Allah once again, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Once again, my name is Brother Abdul Haq Muhammad. I'm the student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the Muhammad Mosque of Islam, number 25, which is located here in the city of Newark, New Jersey. And once again, we are deeply grateful and highly honored for the privilege and the pleasure to speak to you, everyone in the listening audience. We thank you all for joining us for another week of our Disciples Show. Pastor Ali, you already introduced yourself to the people. Again, we're waiting on Reverend Rountree. I see Brother Ed is with us. But I guess we'll start by God's grace.
Oh yeah, we rocking and rolling in your hands. Let's
Prayerfully, our
roll.
sister will join us. So, Brother Ed, you seen what's happening, Capitol Hill, Congress, the Senate. I seen what you sent us as it relates to President Biden, Kamala Harris, and what's happening with this voter rights. Reverend, this he is, Reverend, the one and only.
Bless
Reverend Rountree, we already
Reverend
introduced
Louise Scott
ourselves.
Rountree.
There she
you.
is.
Bless you.
We already introduced ourselves. If you don't mind reintroducing yourself again.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum and peace and blessings to the listening audience on the number one hip hop radio show. Good evening. God bless you. And thank you, Minister Abdul Haq Muhammad, and my co-laborer in the work of movement of ministry, Pastor Ali, to our awesome producer, Ed Riley. I thank you once again for allowing me to join you on this Friday evening on All Politics Are Local, the Disciples Show, where our lead host is none other than that brother that was just talking about Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah,
Well, I want to say this too, Reverend Rountree. I know a lot of people who are listening, they're probably a little confused. That's right. Pastor Ali is a Christian. And his name is Ali. Only in
Come on here.
only in the city of Newark, New Jersey, you have a Christian pastor with the name Ali.
That's right.
So Newark is very unique in that way. All praise due to Allah. So, again, Brother Ed, you gave us the topic of discussion, which is a hot topic in Black America as it relates to Capitol Hill and Congress and Washington, D.C., the Senate. We've seen a lot of prominent Black leaders from the NAACP, other organizations. The Black Caucus was arrested this week protesting about voter rights. So, Reverend Rountree, Pastor Ali, your thoughts on that?
Pastor Ali, you gonna go first?
I just got back in. I didn't hear the question, the statement.
I said we all seen what
I just got
Brother
back
Ed
in.
sent
What was
us.
the statement?
We seen what Brother Ed sent us. Did you all see the topic of a discussion was talking about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, particularly what's happening in Washington, Capitol Hill, the Senate, the voter rights. A lot of prominent Black leaders from the Black Caucus, NAACP, were arrested. I seen one sister. I wanted to pull it up, Brother Ed, but I couldn't find it. I forget the sister's name, but she gave a very passionate speech as it relates to We Are Americans. I mean, she was in tears. I forget that sister's name. I don't know if you all seen the press conference. Older sister, but she was just talking about the suffering that Black folks have gone through in this country, and in 2021, we're still being treated like second-class citizens. She said, what more do we have to go through as a people? We've suffered. We marched in. We sat in. We prayed in. We had dogs sicked on us. She said, 2021, we just want to be citizens. I mean, the sister was very passionate. Again, she cried. I'm sorry I couldn't find it, Brother Ed. I was looking for it on YouTube, but I couldn't pull it up. But the sister was very passionate as it relates to what we've gone through. And again, she was an older sister. So she came through the 60s. She came through the 50s. She came through Jim Crow, segregation. She came through Medgar Evers and Dr. King being assassinated and so many other of our great prominent Black leaders, you understand, being murdered and killed in front of their families. So the sister was very, very passionate. And I think what she saw and what she witnessed this week on Capitol Hill, it triggered, her experience being in the South, being in America, just wanting the right to vote. And in 2021, again, she expressed that we're still going through this. We just want to be treated like American citizens. I have my own thoughts on that from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I do, Brother Ed, Pastor Ali, and Reverend Rountree. But I just want to know your thoughts on what we see happening in America, as it relates to the voting rights or the lack thereof,
So,
all of the legislation that the Republicans are enacting. I see we
so
got our brother Chris. I miss my brother. Good to see your face.
hey,
Black
brother
man.
Chris.
So I
What's
see
good, Chris?
it looked like Pastor Ali got knocked off. But what are your thoughts on that, Reverend Rountree?
So the truth is, we know that in 1965, the act was signed into law. I believe the date was August 6th, if I'm not mistaken. I know I like history, like Pastor, I even call him Pastor Muhammad, Minister Muhammad. They're history buffs. I'm surrounded by history buffs. Mayor Baraka. And when you start talking, Larry Ham, when you start throwing out dates and occurrences and occasions, it's really important to be accurate. So in 1965, okay, President Lyndon Johnson supposedly made a political move and outlawed the discriminatory voting practices. So the truth is, and it took us all these hundreds of years just to be able to, okay, our labor was good, just like the sister said, our labor was good, our giving birth to babies, for you to put on the block was good, nursing your children, our milk was good, but then we could not be treated human enough to allow us to be a part of democracy when it came to selection or due process or any of those things. So as the sister said, we have come a long way, but we haven't come far enough. And the truth is, no, if they can find a way because of racism and voting suppression, because all these things still exist. And if we're not careful, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If
Right.
we don't keep making some noise, oh no, not this time. We're not doing this. So we'll go ahead and take the handcuffs in, because we had to do all of that for 1965 to happen.
Right.
So we cannot allow, and I say this, and I've said it on other outlets and other forums and other shows. We can't continue to be quiet about things that matter. As I think that's a quote from even Dr. King. That's not quite the quote, but we cannot be silent about things that matter to our people. At some point, if we're not careful, we will be the minority. We are not minorities right now, and we need to stop acting like we are.
Thank you, Reverend Rountree. Pastor Ali, you there with us? Oh, our brother keep getting knocked off.
I have a thought.
Go ahead, brother Chris.
Brother Hawk. I was listening to this minister, and he was in Baltimore when he said it. He said it was real. It was real. The level of accuracy of the statement was so powerful. He said that your gullibility can make you a liability.
That's right. I know that brother too.
He's good for wisdom every now and again. Yeah, you might have seen him a couple times.
Yes, sir. I know that brother. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
and so it's a good brother too. It's interesting because I think that the reality is we will never wrap our heads around that the system is working properly.
Working properly for who?
It was never designed.
No, I know that. I'm just saying. I was just like, finish that statement.
Rountree need clarity, brother.
I had Reverend Rountree. I had a professor that said one day we were in class. It's a longer story with the way he put together the syllogism, but essentially he said, if you are a person whose native language is something other than English, if you are a woman, if you are a person that is not white, I want you to know that all of the issues that you see going on in the country is because you actively participate. Because this was not designed for you to do that. And the reality is everything that we've ever gotten as a people that we would consider progress, whether it's voting, housing laws, whatever, is actually a miracle because the system was never designed to grant those things to us. Right. And we always have to be aware that that's our lived existential reality all the time. When I look at you, Reverend Rountree, I mean, there were literal denominations of Christianity that said that you were not sufficient to preach the gospel. We know that's foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Wow. So when
women weren't even allowed in the pulpit, and there's some pastors today, and Pastor Ali can attest to that. As a matter of fact, there was a pastor. I'm gonna tell you a real true story. There was a pastor in a particular. Well, I can't say. Well, maybe whoever listening, they might know. Whoever's listening out there, the story. But there was a pastor that said before a woman preaches in this particular association, it would be over his dead body. And what happened was a pastor that I know became the leader of the overall organization, and the organization under him, the new leadership said, Reverend Rountree, will you speak for this association? So the bullseye was on my back because I was the first woman to ever speak in this particular association, in this particular body, that a man said before a woman graces this any pulpit I'm in or wherever I'm at, it'll be over my dead body. Well, he was living, by the way, when I did it. He wasn't dead. And I know that
he was dead. He was dead. He'd been dead a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. He was psychologically dead.
Mentally, he was.
Yeah.
Right.
Physically. But if you know the scripture, sir, Chris, it was the woman who carried the message.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, Jarena Lee, Sojourner Truth. I mean, we could. I'm
talking about in biblical days.
Absolutely. That first, the revelation of Christ came from a woman. We know that.
But look at the irony of this. You wouldn't have a prophet if it was not for a woman.
Come on here.
You wouldn't have a Jesus. You wouldn't have a Muhammad. All of these luminaries were carried by women. And just a side note, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that's why this world is going to hell. Because a nation can rise no higher than its woman. So an ignorant woman makes an ignorant people. A wise woman makes a wise people. So to discriminate and lock the woman out is to lock yourself out.
Correct.
But that's how sick and cynical and misogynistic, this world is. And it was built on the hatred of women. Even a lot of the religious doctrines. You understand? When you really look at them, talking about that Eve is the reason that man fell. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this is foolishness. That God didn't give Eve the instructions. God gave Adam the instructions.
Right.
So Eve is not the reason that man fell. But if we take that on face value, then you have women growing up thinking that they're the reason for the fall of humanity.
Right.
See, that type of misogynistic religiosity has to be corrected in order for us to truly make progress in a better world. But I digress. I just had to go there talking about Reverend.
I agree. And the strangest part about it is when we look at our struggle for liberation, we always have to keep in the forefront that we were never supposed to be a part of this body politic at all.
But let me see if we can pull this back though.
Pull it back, bro. Ed, I'm sorry.
Because I think that where we are, and we're talking about what's going on in the current climate, right? There were a group of elected officials who were talking this week, particularly as it relates to the voting rights bill, and they talked about Black folk ought to be satisfied because Joe Biden has realistically gone as far as he's going to go for Black people, right? They said that they would never say that publicly, but privately, Joe Biden has already made certain concessions that he would not have made because he said that James Clyburn has not didn't ask him for anything before he gave him the presidency. And he said for him now to be asking him to do something around the filibuster, he said is unfair because the filibuster, he said, privately is the only place that white people can control what happens in politics, right? That now that they control the House and the Senate, they could actually do something to correct the ills around voting rights. All he's got to do is get rid of the filibuster, or he can do something called a workaround. But he's refusing to do that because he's saying that what he wants is he wants it to be bipartisan. So the question is being asked, right? Where's the Black church on this? Because remember, he toured all of the Black churches asking for their vote And then James Clyburn cried in the deep South to the very poor people that saved his presidency and gave him the presidency and gave the vice presidency to Kamala Harris. So now black folk are asking the question, do you see what's really happening? I mean, in fact, what was asked today, I think it was the day or yesterday, I think that uh, uh, you had Roland Martin who said that what happens if black folk vote is suppressed going into the midterms, where black folk can't vote in certain places, black folk lose the right to vote, then they lose the House, then they lose the Senate. Then what happens? What happens to Joe Biden come 3 years from now? He doesn't get reelected. Now all of a sudden they suppress the vote, and now you got Donald Trump back. You think we catching hell now? What kind of hell do you think we're gonna catch if black folk who are in these black churches don't stand up? Roland Martin said that today.
But that's my thing, brother Ed. It's always, a good enough presidency for black folks, and that's always the mantra. Man, you think it's bad now? I mean, we've been hearing that for the last 465 years. You think it's bad now? Wait till this one get in. Wait till this one get in. I once read a statement, brother Ed, Pastor Ali, and Reverend Rountree said that democracy for black folks has been like 4 wolves and a sheep voting on dinner. Democracy for black folks has been like 4 wolves and a sheep voting on dinner. So again, we're always in a state of crisis, and we're always in a state of political panic. Why? Because, as I said before the election, and as I'm saying now, black folks, because we don't have any autonomy, any real independence, we're always operating from a sense of desperation. We're always operating from a sense of crisis. We're always operating from a sense of emergency. We're always operating from a sense of our back against the wall. We have nowhere else to go. So during the election, we heard this mantra: vote or die. Now think about the mentality. You're going to vote or you're going to die. Hell, we was dying before we voted. We was dying while we voted, and we're dying after we're voting. So that slave-like mentality, vote or die, as if there is no other options, that if we don't vote, that life is over as we know it. And to me, that's an atheistic statement to tell a man vote or die. Like voting is the only option that I have. Brother Ed, you talked about the black church. Where's the black church? The black church, the black mosque, the black cathedral, the black synagogue. We have to have more faith in our Lord. And I'm not saying that politics is of no value, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that there is value in politics, but we got to have the right mentality. We got to have the right concept and perspective as it relates to politics. And I think that our perspective is a slave-like perspective, and that's why we can't get out of politics with other ethnicities get out of politics.
Well, I think for me, I want to make it clear. It's not me asking where's the black church.
Not you, brother. And I'm speaking to
I'm
those
saying,
that
yeah,
are asking and saying. Now, let me just say this before, and we'll bring in Pastor Ali and Reverend Rountree. Brother Ed, we talked about this before, but when Biden won, because they called Clyburn the godfather of the Democratic Party, they asked Clyburn, Mr. Clyburn, well, okay, you hand delivered it over to Joe Biden. What do you want? And this man on national television said, I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. The promise is over for me. He said that he did not want nothing.
That's true.
So you're getting what you asked for.
Right.
He said, now this is the godfather of the Democratic Party. They said he hand delivered the presidency over to Biden. And they asked him, Clyburn, what do you want now that Biden? He said, I don't want anything. And then when Biden gives us nothing, we mad.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen that, Pastor Ali and Reverend Rountree, but they asked him, Mr. Clyburn, what is it that you want for handing this over to Biden? He said, I don't want anything.
fine. All right, thank you, host. The truth of the matter is, if your recollection serves you well, I asked this question a year ago, Ed Riley, not just about the church, but everybody was having a conversation of what is Biden giving to us in return? How are we being set up? What do we ask for when we were at the table? And you can't get upset if you didn't have this conversation before. And nowadays, you better get it in writing because people will make all kind of broken promises. Some things need to be solidified before. You can't just come and tell me no more. I'm promising you that I'm going to do a thing and help the people. And there's no real evidence for me to have after the fact. So I can't come and get mad. Black people, nobody else. I said this. What you get mad for? Because everybody's cutting deals all over the place.
But Rountree, we got to recall though, Brother Ed, Pastor Ali, Brother Chris, that during the primaries or when this thing was heating up, there was a brother that was asking for something specifically. Our brother Ice Cube, right? He had what they called the Plan for Black America.
For Black America, correct. It was a manifesto for Black America.
And he was asking out for so much money. And Black people, basically, well, we were angry at Ice Cube for asking and saying that he was willing to meet with Trump or whoever would listen to his plan. Why would he meet with Trump? See, why would he meet with Trump? But as my brother Ed Riley taught me, that politics is no permanent friends, it's only permanent interests. So we have this sick love for the Democratic Party. Like we can't talk or put an agenda before both parties because this is about permanent interests. This ain't about no permanent friendship. We don't have to pledge our allegiance to anybody who does not do or meet our demands. This is about our self-interest, not what the Democrats or the Republicans like. This is about Black people, what we need and our necessities. And if the Republicans are going to give it, damn it, we going to take it. If the Democrats going to give it, we going to take it. Long as we don't have to compromise our principles and our morals, then damn it, we going to take it. Why? Because you owe it to us. Not that we're begging, but this is what we justly do. I'm sorry, I'm kind of just.
But you know what happened though. The reality is that there was somebody I can't remember who it was when everybody had their chucks and their pearls and everybody was so excited. It was somebody.
No, because Reverend actually had trucks out pearls too. Now that take it easy, bro, Chris. Talking about Reverend.
When our good vice president said, I don't even know if America is even racist. I don't even know if racism even exists. The reality is when I was at a protest in the city of Newark about violence, guess who I saw? Reverend Rountree, because that's who she is.
Mm-hmm.
She is a soldier for liberation. That's who she is. So she had her mask on and was out there with the people because that's who she is.
That's right.
Who is Joe Biden? He's a segregationist.
That's what they call him. They called him Jim Crow Joe. Now
Jim Crow Joe.
Now Joe being Joe, we get mad at Joe for being Joe.
He himself, Joe is the regular Joe.
But
I've never seen Brother Abdul Haq Muhammad not be Brother Abdul Haq Muhammad. Whenever I see Pastor Ali is Pastor Ali. Ed Riley is Ed Riley, whether we in a 5-star restaurant or walk around in the hood. All of y'all the same person. Now, Joe being Joe, we all upset.
I know what it is, but Chris, because he stood up there and he told us, I got your back. And
he didn't say that.
He did. He
told Charlemagne, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Didn't he say that, Brother Ali?
He said both things. I got your back. I got you. I'm going to take care of you. Uncle Joe to the rescue and all that. Yeah. He gave a couple of checks away, and now he's saying back to business as usual.
But see, you know this ain't. But look, Brother Ed, Pastor Ali, Reverend Rountree, you know this ain't the first time. See, because President Biden, he hired all these black folks. We said, wow, but this ain't the first time. See, this happened during President Roosevelt's presidency, where they called it the Roosevelt Black Cabinet. And we loved him so much that we call him the Great White Father.
Wow.
Joe Biden hiding all these black folks, we start calling, that's Uncle Joe. See, that's Uncle. We invited him into the family before he ever even did any real thing of substance.
Well, listen, but what's interesting is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote a book called The Fall of America. It's his last text that he wrote. And he's like, the condition of who we are and what we are as a people and how we have been treated will cause the fall of the country. Guess what? He didn't give the prescription for how it was going to look, but we falling, and it's a wrap. And the reality is, until we as black people come to the conclusion that we have to operate from a position of our own power, it's not going. We are not useful to this system. And at the end of the day, they've run out of a use for us, except when they do, and that's all they need for us. All they need for us is a few votes, and we all right. And at the end of the day, Joe Biden is who he is. It's like, and you were getting at a point, brother Hawk, earlier, where you're like, it's two. What was the analogy you used? 4 wolves arguing with a sheep over dinner.
That's what voting. That's what democracy for black people in this country have been.
You also said once. I also heard you say that typically, so unfortunately, our black leaders get used like toilet tissue, and it's true. We have a very comfortable relationship with enslavement. And unfortunately, it's like as long as we hitch our wagon to any particular way of doing things, particularly when the move is, here's the devil and here's a proto-fascist. If you're so scared of the devil that you hang out with the fascists. That's not.
Now realize the fascist is the devil also.
Exactly. And in the street, we call that hustling backwards.
Yes, sir.
It's bad.
So, Brother Ali, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think just like CJ has spoken, I believe that we don't have enough political power to change anything. You know, we get to come down and we have a couple of dinners, we get to get a couple of rewards, and we think we are in the back room making changes. We don't have enough strength or enough political power to change America. What is our representation as far as the population is concerned? 18 to 19% of blacks in America. That's not even 20%. That's not even a quarter. So we're not united with other groups or whatever, and we're not even united among ourselves. So when we look at the disunity within ourselves, what is our power base? 10%? 10%. So we never have to be taken seriously because we are not the dominating force. I was just with a group of individuals the other day, and they were talking about, they were laughing when the Indian population started coming to Piscataway. And they were laughing at them because they were living 5 families to a household. Now they're running Piscataway. They own most of the businesses in Piscataway because they understood their agenda. And they united as they understood their agenda, what they needed to be successful, and they pursued that individual agenda as one. And now if you go on Stelton Road, they run Stelton Road in Piscataway. And this was brought up, and a black former assembly person out there said they laughed at them because they were living with their families where all these Indians coming from. Now try to go out to that Edison area and look at what the Indians have done, because they understood their purpose, and they say, well, I tell you what, you can laugh at us all you want, but we know where we're headed. And once we carve that out, we're not waiting for you to give us power. We'll take the power.
Yes, sir.
And what they did was use the majority of their community to change their community.
Right. Yes,
and
sir.
don't vote at the same clip we do.
No,
but that's it though, right? So Ali just spoke to.
So are you allowing me to speak now?
Yeah, go ahead. You was on mute.
Okay. So to ditto what our beloved Pastor Ali has stated. Chris, one of the biggest problems we have in the African American community, unlike the Indians that have taken over Edison, is that we will unite, we will organize, but we won't stay consistent.
Mm.
We won't persevere. We get a little bit of something and think we're good. If we could just stay the course of what some of our forefathers, our ancestors endured for us to be where we are today. When you speak of a John Lewis, when you speak of some of these people by any means necessary, did what they needed to do for us to get some of what we got. I don't put our people in a box to say that we just won't get along, or that we go in the back room and will sell our people out just to get our own personal agenda through, which is not in the best interest of all people. When I speak, I don't speak for me. I speak because I have sisters that I stand on the shoulders of that have made it possible for me to be where I am, because they opened some doors before I came along that made it just a little bit easier. But you have people that, when you talk about power, and Ali, you talking about the Indian population in Edison, when we talk about power, that statement, power to the people, it's real. The problem is, just like anyone else, some of us get a little power and we abuse it and forget about the people, especially in leadership, that we're here to help, and start compromising, and our people start suffering because of us. I will not stand back and take a platform to say that someone else is the reason why we are not where we're supposed to be. We're just not consistent with our leadership that is allowed to get the power. They don't keep the power. They allow themselves to share the power with the very ones that's oppressing us and suppressing us. And then we're divided. And we can't reach our goal to what we're trying to obtain, whether it be voting rights suppression, which is going on right now. You get enough people out there, and everybody on this line knows, especially you, Minister Abdul Haq and Pastor Ali, you've been on enough forefronts to say, oh, we're going to make a difference, no matter what you say, and no matter who tries to stop us. Pastor Ali went and stood in front of a police director's house with a group of people and said, sometimes there are people that have to go that far and be consistent. You can't go out there one time and just drop off and expect there to be a difference made. It just won't work. Persistency, consistency, honesty, true to your people, true to your cause, and stay right there. We are our worst enemies, Brother Chris.
But and I think when we talk about Black people, we always got to look at the totality of the circumstance.
Absolutely.
Never taken isolated. And I'm saying that because of what has happened to us as a people. I was talking to Brother Ed one day, and I was telling him that when we was on the plantation, they used to have what they call rent-a-nigger auctions, right? And during the rent-a-nigger auctions, the Black people were not for sale, but they can be rented. So we have a lot of quote-unquote, pardon the expression, rent-a-nigger auctions today, where you have some Black people who are not selling all the way out, but they damn sure can be rented. And we have to always keep that in mind when we talk about the condition of Black people, when we talk about our lack of political knowledge or our lack of political involvement. You cannot never separate our condition and what has happened to us. And sometimes when we compare Black folks to other ethnicities, it's really unfair, because no other ethnicity in this country or anywhere else have gone through what we as Black folks have gone through, have been under the type of psychological torment that we as a people have been under, not for a year, not for 2 years, not for 5 years. And then when we begin to talk about this, Black folks get mad. Man, that was yesterday. But in order to be successful, you got to study those who are successful.
That's right.
Know that one of the most successful ethnicities are the Jewish people. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught us through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that they are people to be studied. And one of the things that matters is that we will never forget. Why? So what happened to us yesterday will never happen to us again. But we don't like to study our history. But our great brother and scholar said, if a race have no history, if it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world and it stands in danger of being exterminated. So you don't study history just for the nostalgia of it, but you study history so that you can learn the mistakes that were made and why you are in your current condition. So there's another saying that those who do not learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat it. So we have not studied our history enough and we have not learned the lesson. So every 4 years we find ourselves in the same quagmire. Why? Because we are putting our hopes in a system that have constantly and consistently failed us. America has shown us that she does not love us and that she does not want us. But damn it, we gotta want and we gotta love ourselves. And when we begin to do that more, we don't have to wait on a benevolent leader or benevolent white man to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And when we begin to critique the political system, we can't go to the extreme and say, well, see, no, because the political system is to be critiqued. So when we are critiquing it, we're not saying that it's of no value and it does not have any use, but black folks in our current condition, it is no value to us because of how we approach politics. We approach it from a slave and a slave master mentality. So we are not approaching it with the right perspective. We're not approaching it with the right orientation of mind. Therefore, we can't get out of it what other ethnicities get out of it. It's a tool to be used. It's a tool to be used. It's not the Alpha and Omega. It's not the beginning and ending. But damn it, we got to learn how to use the tool and stop letting the tool use us. That's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught. That's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan taught. They were not apolitical. They knew that there's politics in everything. But because of our slave-like mentality, we can't benefit from the system like we could benefit from the system. I'm going to say this and I'm going to close. You all can have it. We talk about our brother in the city, Mayor Ras Baraka, and how he is able to leverage politics and do something for the people. But Mayor Ras Baraka didn't just pop up. We're not toasters. See, he was produced by a mother and a father who are knowledgeable of themselves and their history, and they instilled that into their son. So he's an anomaly. He's not your average politician. And that's why he's able to get out of the system what many of our other brothers and sisters are not able to get out of the system. Why? It's not because he's a politician. No, it's because of his pedagogy. It's because of his rearing. It's because of what he's been taught. But the average black man and woman who are in politics, they don't have that mindset and that mentality. So instead of using politics, they allow politics to use them. So we
it's
got to
back
have
to
a
the
certain
renegade.
mentality. We got to have a
That's
certain
right.
mindset in order for us to use and benefit from the political system. And until we do that, we'll be like our brother Van Jones crying on TV. No, I'm not being facetious or funny, but we were actually crying when Biden won. Why? Because our hopes was in him in a system that failed us. We got to put more hope in ourselves and us and our agenda. So,
That's pretty much
sorry,
all.
I went in that little
That
tangent.
That was good,
that
Minister.
sums it
That was
up.
good.
But that was good.
And I
That
think
sums it up.
I'm
that's
sorry.
it. That's what me and Ali was saying, but you just put it all, wrapped it up real nice, put a little bow on it, because that is the reality. That, and I think I said it in a different way, that we're so busy depending on deliverance from someone else when we actually can do what we need to do anyway.
No,
Absolutely,
that's
Minister.
right. I just wanted to say that. I didn't mean to go on a soliloquy or
No, no, no,
commentary
no.
or rant,
Because
but
we have not been delivered. We don't know what deliverance look like. We don't
Hello.
understand deliverance because we never been delivered. We've had some, we call it
We're
deliverance, but
dependent
it's
on
not
other folks to
deliverance.
deliver us, but they don't
So
even
we've
know what
been
deliverance
delivered.
is.
They don't know what deliverance is. So because we're dependent on others instead of delivering ourselves, period.
and again, it has its place, but that's what it is. It is its place. But again, you talked about the Indians who are in Piscataway and how they leveraged their unity.
Their
in
unity.
order to gain political dominance. And see, that's with all these other ethnicities. They leverage their unity. And by their unity, they're able to make certain demands on those politicians who are there to serve them. So again, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have taught us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that unity will solve 95% of our problems. But unity for black man and black man, black woman and black woman, it's not easy. Again, because of the psychological turmoil that many of us are in because of what has happened to us. But again, we have to, our life is at stake. And our life has always been at stake. It's not just at stake when it comes time for a primary or when it comes time for election that now all of a sudden it's vote or die or we are in this state of crisis or panic. Hell, our whole life here has been a state of emergency, a state of crisis. But again, many of us are asleep, psychologically dead. So it takes shock or it takes a particular time for us to wake up and begin to do what it is that we need to do. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we must begin to look at creating our own political machine. Our own political machine. We have the knowledge, we have the skill, we have black people in America, some of the most educated people on the planet. We have the money, we have the finances, but what we don't have is unity.
Unity.
So
And that's across the board. And I want to address that because when you start bringing up church and faith, the truth of the matter is, if we go back to even Dr. Martin Luther King, look, we can go back to Richard Allen with AME. That's what it is in AME. But the truth is, the unity amongst faith leaders. And that is a big message for me because I tell Minister Abdul Haq and Ali and the faith leaders, the truth is, we're supposed to represent God, but we won't even come together to represent and love one another. But going back to President Biden, and this speech he gave in Philadelphia, I just want to share just as one paragraph from Latasha Brown, who's the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. And she raised a number of meaningful points about his speech, but added that the challenge for her was what he did not say. She said, we're talking about a sense of urgency like he laid out in his speech around democracy. This country is actually going to war in the name of democracy. Brown said in an interview before meeting with Vice President Harris about voting at the White House on Friday, this is this month, along with other Black women leaders, the question is, how are we going to respond to what Republicans are not doing now? And will the full weight of the White House be used to make sure that we secure permanent voting rights for our citizens? And I don't know whether, they say many voting rights advocates say they believe Biden has voted much more of his time and political capital to other priorities, pointing to the bipartisan infrastructure bill as a timely example. Biden huddled behind closed doors with lawmakers over that issue early this week, pushing them to support the plan. But they say he's still using his bully pulpit. He's still traveling the states. He's still giving speeches. He's still going to Congress. And there's a whole lot of issues that are going on. And now we have 17 states that have enacted laws to suppress our voting rights.
17.
Well, can I say this?
I read that somewhere else. I read that in
No,
a commentary.
let me say this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us through the Honorable Farrakhan. If you don't know what it was, you can't know what it is, and you'll be ill prepared for what is yet to come. This is not the first time we've seen this. See, Dr. King, Booker T. Washington, they all talked about white backlash. Sister Carol Anderson from the New York Times wrote a book called White Rage. And she said, what produces white rage is Black excellence. Think about, historically speaking, after Reconstruction, when Black people became senators, we was in Congress, we were controlling things. We saw the worst of white folks. Now you get what? The KKK. See, the KKK really was the military arm of the Democratic Party, because Black folks at that time, we were Republicans. See, when you talk about, the Republicans are creating all these barriers to voting, I ask you, where did they get it from? They learned it from the Democratic Party, because it was in 1890 that the Democratic Party, they began to create what they call white-only primaries. They called it disenfranchised conventions, where they was having these primaries, but black people were excluded. It was the Democratic Party that created the poll taxes, the poll taxes where black folks had to block us from voting, disenfranchisement. It was the Democratic Party that created the literacy test. All of those barriers to stop and prevent black people from voting, there were democratic mechanisms. And now the Republicans are basically using what they learned from the Democratic Party. So again, this type of white backlash or white rage is not the first time that we've seen it. We've seen it after Reconstruction. So the Republicans are just taking a play out of white supremacy's playbook. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, how it works, then everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. And this is why us as a people, we are confused, because we do not understand white supremacy. We don't understand the architects of it, so we keep being victims of it. White folks are on code with white folks. Us as a people, we got to get on code with ourselves. And regardless of what they do, we have to have our agenda, we have to have our plan, and we cannot let them shame us into making us think that when we come and we have a meeting and we unite, that we got to invite them in. They don't invite you into their meetings. When they having a meeting, you don't even know that they meeting. But they having a meeting to discuss what? Moving their people forward. But when we have a meeting, we got to be all inclusive. We got to invite everybody in. And if they don't come in, then, we got to, no. We got to have our own black agenda for us, by us. And we got to dictate and control our destiny. And it can't be predicated on what a benevolent white man do or don't do.
Truth.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, bro, Ed. You know, we got to be straight. We got to be straight with no chaser. And we have to speak what needs to be said. And then we got to begin to plan on what it is that we going to do, because we can't pass on another legacy of poverty, violence, and ignorance to another generation. We've been doing that for too long. So we got to stand up and do for ourselves, or we going to suffer the consequences, you know?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that, unfortunately, I think that we had a very serious time, not just, in Washington, not just what's going on in DC, but we've got the same issues going on locally, right? I think that, we know that at the end of the day, Biden would not have won had not black folks voted for him, right? We also know that here in the state of New Jersey, we know that the governor won't win if black folks don't vote for him. And so, but we come to the same fork in the road every time out. So when you talk about black folk developing their own political party, or developing a black agenda and sticking to that black agenda, well, you're right, Brother Hawk, when I shared with you that politics, one of the things you learn right off the bat in undergrad and political science, that politics has no permanent friends and no permanent no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. I think that white folk have always been clear about that. That's why, they can be arch enemies with folks, right? But then when it comes down to negotiating, they're negotiating purely for their interests. The problem with black folk is that, when we get in a room, we say that amongst ourselves. But when we get in a room, we quick to sell our people out, because what we're looking for is job security, not just for ourselves. We're looking for job security for our families, right? For our friends, for our neighbors, right? People we know, we're trying to hook them up. But at the end of the day, the masses of the people still suffering. Listen, as I studied the 1972 convention, and as we organized to put this together in the city of Newark, one of the things I'm reminded of is that Amiri would have been successful in 1972 with that. The problem that caused that to break up is that you had some of the brothers and sisters in the civil rights community that disagreed with Amiri based around two of his planks. One was that they called for a constitutional convention. That was one. Two, they also talked about they wanted reparations. And the problem was is that you had some of those Negroes back then who were just happy to be elected officials and just happy to be in the position that they were in with the semblance of power. And so therefore, 2 weeks after that, what they had put together in 1972 by the wisdom of Amiri and the organizations that he represented at that time fell apart. And black folk, all that work that they had done in Gary, Indiana, right? They lost that because they were talking about that. They had a slogan called Nation Time.
It's nation
right?
time.
And that was the focus of what they were trying to get done. And remember, as I studied it, I look at all of the people that was involved. Even James Clyburn was there in 1972. Minister Farrakhan was there in 1972, right? James Mtume was there in 1972. Larry Ham was there in 1972. He was a young man, but he was there.
Right.
All of these brothers and sisters were there. We had an opportunity in 1972 under the wisdom of Amiri Baraka, right, to develop something of our own. And we came back, and it was that same wisdom that got Ken Gibson elected in the city of Newark. And so we at that fork in the road again, right? And black folk, if we don't develop our own independent agenda this time around, when you talk about how you say, we're some of the most educated folk on the planet, particularly black folks in terms of our group, you're right at this particular time. The problem is that the history that we have, we talk about white folk not wanting black folk to teach their history to the world. Well, we don't want to teach the history ourselves to our own children because we're afraid what the hell is going to happen if they get that history, right? I mean, and even when you and that's why I think that some people are saying what they're saying, Brother Ali and Sister Rountree, when they say that, because I have a lot of relationships, that's true, with a lot of different very well established preachers around the country. And when I talk to them, I hear them say the same thing. Hey man, my church don't really want to hear that, man. So, I don't really want to go in the pulpit and say that, man. And then, my 501c3, get messed up, or, something we're trying to get done. We won't get invited to certain places. I got it. Right. And I'm not trying to push anybody to do anything. But at the end of the day, man, the masses of black people, what is they say about insanity? Insanity is if you keep doing the same thing and
expecting different results.
Yeah, it's insanity, right? And so how can we expect something different, Brother Ali, if we keep doing the same damn thing, right? And that's the same position we in right now, right? Here with this governor in the state of New Jersey. We in that same position again, right? The masses of our black people know, right, at the end of the day, if we don't go out and vote for Murphy can't win. But if we don't put something on the table, an agenda to make sure that black folk get something, it ain't gonna happen, right? And Larry had put one forth, some time ago in terms of trying to get that done. And unfortunately, there were some black folks in our community who didn't want to present that agenda because we were getting Sheila Oliver. And so we didn't need to put forth an agenda. So look at where we at now.
And that's the trick. See, that's always the trick. That's always the deception. That's always the scheme. That's always the machination to give us a trinket, weigh that carrot.
A dessert.
Oh man, and look, see, he is changing. But again, we as a people, we have to understand the totality of our circumstance. And no one man or woman can rise above the condition of their people. And as you know, Reverend Rountree, and as you know, Pastor Ali, as we close, this is why God had Ezekiel to say, woe to the shepherd that feed themselves and not the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said at a black summit with various leaders, Jesse Jackson, so many others, He said, what good is a black head disconnected or not connected to a black body? And that has always been the aim and the modus operandi of those that have oppressed us, to take our brilliant men and women and to keep them disconnected from the masses of our people. So collectively, we are hurting. Collectively, we are impoverished. Yes, we have more mayors than ever. We have more brothers and sisters in political seats of power than ever. But the masses of our people are deteriorating into the ovens of social degeneracy. So again, we have to unite. And I don't care how long we're going to keep saying it until it happens. I must remind the brothers and sisters on this line that England and France was in war for 100 years before they reconciled their differences. And they were not nearly under the type of mental anguish and ignorance and oppression that we are under. So we're going to keep saying it and keep working on it until it happens. We can't say, man, we said that yesterday. Well, damn it, we're going to say it again today, and we have to keep saying it until we make it happen. So, that's all I want to say.
Well, hey, listen, man, we've come to the end of the disciples. I'm going to give you all the last word. If there's any announcements you want to make.
Wait. Before you give them the last word, I wanted to say, hey, disciples, I miss you.
Look at my sister. Where you been at? Sister Donna?
We miss you too, DW. I miss you more, but we're going to talk about that. But, oh, God, I miss you. Minister, you got to stay on. Come back. Y'all got to come back.
No, I'm sorry.
We coming back.
No. I got to go get my wife.
Okay, listen, I can't fight with another pastor.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Well, I
miss you. Yeah, and I might help her, so go get your wife. So, hey, Minister Ali, love you guys.
Love you too.
You too, Chris.
So I did all the talking. I'm sorry, bro. And I'll let Reverend Rountree, Pastor Ali, Brother Kriyaga had the last word. I'll just be quiet.
Peace and love. It was real. It was real. Don't have to add nothing to it. It's already been said. Drop that right there. Drop the mic. Bam.
Okay, you drop the mic. I got an announcement to make. Thank you, Minister Abdul Haq, Pastor Ali, once again for us having this awesome discussion regarding, I think if we don't get anything else out of this, I hope those that are listening and tuned into the All Politics are Local number one hip hop radio station of WRNU with the disciples. Tomorrow, our faith leaders will be hosting a prayer walk on Bergen and Lyons. We will start at Bergen and Lyons. Faith leaders will be walking down the street, praying and having conversation. Me and my brother, my little son, Mr. Abdul Haq Muhammad, and the brothers and the pastors will be showing our unity amongst faith leaders as we walk down Bergen Street. We have 8 prayer walks planned just for the South Ward, and we're moving throughout the city for the people in the street that are having issues, whether it be drug addiction, whether it be needing a job. Things happening all over the city of Newark under the leadership of Mayor Barack with DJ Littleman, with the Educate the Block, to Occupy the Block. It's one thing to be behind the doors of City Hall. It's another thing for them to see City Hall on the street. The first walk we did with all of the directors, economic development. It's a different look to see those who are behind those walls having a conversation and bringing those services to the street instead of waiting for people to come to you. Second thing I want to announce is the mayor's men's breakfast on August 7th. There will be a men's breakfast, and the number to call if you want tickets for August 7th, 9 a.m. is 973-733-3013. Once again, thank you again for allowing me these words. Minister Abdul Haq, Ed, Riley, and Chris, and Jonathan. And the other thing I want to say is unity. We've got to focus on staying unified, because as Pastor Ed Riley, the great theologian that practices law, has stated, Donna, that it is important. We've just got to. When you see the brothers come out with Minister Abdul Haq and they got their ties on and their suits, if you can see the uniformity of when they line up to walk the street, before they walk the street, they make sure everything is in order, then they take off. That's what we have to do. We have to make sure everything is in order amongst all of us that are fighting for a cause, standing for a cause,
And
move forward. I'm done. God bless you.
all right, thank you. Hey,
All
take,
right, Rountree.
And
take
Pastor
care.
Ali, Pastor Ali,
Yeah, baby. Oh, I'm done. I dropped the mic. We out.
Yes. Take care.
Well, we thank
All
y'all.
right.
We thank the disciples.
I just finished your book too, Pastor Ali. I don't know if you heard me.
You frozen.
See y'all later. Thank you. Appreciate it.
maybe we have to do. We have a lot of books that we haven't discussed, so we might have to just do an author's night coming up soon.
Yeah, but Donna, you can't come to the show late and then want to hold the disciples up. You know what I mean?
I shut up, sir. I
You
said
know what I mean?
You can't blame
Hey,
Donna
Donna,
tonight. You can't blame Donna tonight.
and then you got John in the background hitting me up. I'm saying Donna's the one.
I
I'm
said, look,
trying to
I
help
said
them
2
in
minutes, and he gonna blame it on me.
this show.
I feel like I don't know.
That's not right, Ed. Blaming
Oh, no.
our sister Donna like that. Come on, Donna.
Listen,
I got your back.
Donna,
I said
Donna.
hello and goodbye.
Donna
I did a
knows-
Russell Simmons. I did a Russell Simmons hello. Thank you
You're
very
like,
much.
hey, and then you know,
Donna know all day, every day. She controls the show. We just on for the ride. She know that. That's why she
So,
do it.
But it's 7:06, and we got Brother Dumas in here, and Brother Dumas. Hi, how are you? I see you on. Hey, oh, okay. See how he has a radio show on Tuesday, so he's very disciplined as to when to come in. Don't say anything to my name. So Brother Dumas is here to talk to us about what's going on in Haiti. We know that the president of Haiti, who was recently assassinated, they had his funeral today.
Yeah.
So although we have been wanting to do it some time now, with things, it seems like things have fallen right into place because we can talk about it as things have, for in terms of him being, formally funeralized is, come to that today. So we can, if there were any updates today. So Brother Dumas, just come jump in and talk to us and just first give us.
And Donna, before he jumps in, can you give him an introduction? Like
that's what I was going to say, because I'm in the car and I'm going to be moving around. So that's why I would say, Brother Dumas, just come in and just give us a brief background of yourself. Go ahead, brother.
Hi everyone, my name is Dumas. I was born in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I'm very glad to be part of the discussion. It's my first time, and I hope I will be back soon to not only speak about Haiti, but to have a connection with you, because I see that you are a group of people that are very dynamic. Well, I came to the United States in 2005. Back then, I was studying civil engineering. For a little quick of who I am, I'm just a proud Asian, someone that came to the community to study. I'm a graduate from Essex County in social science. I have a radio show. I also wrote 3 books. I'm working on the 4th one. Probably I'm gonna start the 5th one because I really wanna talk about this situation that is going on right now in Haiti. I'm married. I have 2 kids. They living in Haiti. And I also have a organization that's called Think Tank Democrat. So I don't have to tell you that I love democracy. I'm not a member of the National a Democratic Party, but I do watch very much what they're doing. Basically, this is who I am, and I'm very much connected with everything that is going on in Haiti, and I'm working with different organization, Asian organization, and also the National Action Network with Al Chapter. So this is who I am, and basically that's all I can say. I'm not that is a person with a lot of things to say about myself. So thank you so much for having me. And
I was going to say you're very humble. You are an accomplished journalist, an independent journalist on this. I look at the work that you do. I look at who you do it with. I look at the radio show, and I'm like, you're an independent journalist that has a lot of information on Haiti. So you're a very humble introduction of yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know, Mr. Brother Dumas, that you're speaking to us, and Creole is your first language, and English is one of your, I don't know if it's your second or third, but what I want to do is give you a proper informal Haitian greeting by just saying "sac passe."
Sac passe. Yes, sac passe. So they always said, I think it's Wycliffe that popularized this word, like when you were singing it. Sac passe. It's like
that's why everybody knows how to say
yes.
it. That's right.
Yes, I think we needed to give him that. He make a sac passe like available for everybody into the world. So I think so. Yes.
And Mr. Dumas, before we get to all of the morbid, the heavy things that's going on in Haiti, let's talk a little bit lighter, because you mentioned Wycliffe, and Wycliffe very much wanted to be the president of Haiti, and he didn't have support, and he had very little support from what it seemed like in the polls. And reflecting on everything where we are today, and as we go forward, do you think Wycliffe would have been an effective president?
I'm not sure. Because he had pretty much good ideas. One thing I know, he will have a lot of support from his friend into the US. That's all I know. Could he be a better president than Michel Martelly? Of course. Could he be a better president than Jovenel? I think so, because he's living into the US. He got a lot of friends into the Congress. He knows a lot of people. He will be a better president than Martelly and Jovenel, but like the president that Haiti need right now, I really don't think so, because like Haiti needs someone that is very knowledgeable into the politics, not only into the science, political science, but into the history of Haiti, or to talk with people. If you do not have any connection inside of Asian politics in Haiti, they're gonna, I'm not gonna say they're gonna get you killed, but it's gonna be very hard for you to make any decision, to bring any policy to change the country. We need someone that came from to the bottom, that have a lot of experience, and also that have a very good friend inside of the United States, friends, and other people. And this is exactly what Martelly and Jovenel, even did not have a connection from the bottom of the politics and to go up and to help the country. Well, Wycliffe is an amazing person. He did a lot of stuff for Haiti, but that's what Clinton said. That's what the Clinton said about it. Haiti is not an orchestra. It's not a group. It is not a musical group. So, but they did support Martelly instead of Wycliffe, because Wycliffe is a guy that will stand against them, against the Clinton, against anyone else. But Martelly, he just bow his head and accept everything. Yes, he will be a better president than Michel Martelly and Jovenel, but not the president to help Haiti to develop the country. Not because he's not a good person, but because of his lack of knowledge in politics.
Okay, so I hear you saying that, and I hear Jonathan coming up, but I just wanted to sum up. It's not important to have outside relationships. You need to have internal relationships, and you need to be somebody who can knock on door to door and speak to the prince or the pauper. So I hear you.
Yes,
Jonathan?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying that as Donna pointed out, there's a funeral today, and when we saw this in the news, and we saw that the Haitian president had been assassinated, there were a lot of questions. that I had. I know that there had been turmoil for a while out that we hear about Colombian agents being a part of it. What's going on? Like, what's going on with the assassination? And can you work backwards from there? Like tell us what happened and then tell us what led to it.
Well, I think from day one, Jovenel accepted to run for president. I think he signed his death certificate. Why? The people, he was not someone inside of the political arena. He was a businessman doing his business with different kind of people. But Michel Martelly, the previous president, talked to him. They needed a face to sell to the people. They need someone that looked like me, that came from the countryside, to sell it to the population so they can vote for him. But he will be a puppet. He will be just a puppet for Martelly. And
just for clarification, are you saying that like because he was a businessman and he didn't have the right connections, he set up his death sentence? Could you break that down for us?
Yes. The people that helped him to get into the politics, it was not someone with any political background. That was a big mistake from its part. In Haiti, if you not part of the political arena, they're gonna look at you very badly. They're gonna say, so this guy just pop up and then we don't know who, he don't know nothing. So the congressmen, they will not help you. You can try to buy them. They can work for you a little bit, but they're not gonna support you into the bad situation. It's just about the money. And Michel Martelly, he was someone who got a lot of connection with the mafia, with the people that just passing drugs to the United States. They were selling guns, and Jovenel was someone from the countryside. They could not work together. If Michel Martelly wanted Jovenel to be his prime minister, they will never work because they have two different characters, and then it will not work. And at the end, this is exactly what happened. They wanted Jovenel to do certain things. He agreed for that, and he knew he will be fighting those people, the bourgeoisie, quote unquote. But those guys, they just making money off the people, and Jovenel did not want to continue doing the same thing they told him to do. And they told him, if you do not,
the they, right? Like you're saying the they, and you mentioned the Jovenel, the president, was assassinated. You also mentioned another person. Who was that person? And you're saying that person was involved in organized crime?
Yes, it was Michel Martelly, like Sweet Mickey. He was the singer that became president. If you don't know him, you can check Sweet Mickey or Michel Martelly, a Asian president. That's the guy that went to the countryside and bring Jovenel as a face, as a puppet, because they wanted to win the election. That's exactly what happened. Well, and then they told Jovenel, if you do not do exactly what we want you to do, my friend might get killed. And when somebody give you a job, and then you start to realize, I'm gonna do things my way, especially in politics in Haiti, you're gonna get into trouble.
So,
first of all, yes.
I was gonna say, so you're breaking this down in a way that I hadn't. I've only heard hints of before, but I haven't heard people be as extensive about it. You're saying that Jovenel, he came to power and he was backed by Martelly?
Yes, Martelly, yes.
Who was in support of drug dealers in the country?
Yes, exactly. And they were doing a lot of money laundering. This is what came of the Petro-Caribbean money. I don't know if you know about the story about the Petro-Caribbean money, like more than $4 $1 billion got stolen from Haiti. That was another big story. First of all, Jovenel was someone that was never part of the political arena. They came with him to sell or to be a face of the PHTK. It was the political party that Jovenel won under for the election of 2015. First of all, the election took place in 2015. There was so much fraud into this election, they had to remake the election in 2017. That means they spent 2 years doing an election. 2015, 2016, 2017. Jovenel wanted to go in 2022. They told him, no, your terms end in 2021. There was a lot of fighting. The opposition people tell him, my friend, you need to go 2021. He said, no, I'm gonna stay until 2022, and I'm gonna do the election and give the power back to Michel Martelly. Michel Martelly bring him into the politics, and the deal between him and Michel Martelly, my friend, I give you the power for 5 years. You need to do everything you can to give me my power back in 2022 or in 2021. That was the deal. This is the way they do in politics in Haiti. I give you the power, you're gonna give it to me back. That's the deal. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but my friend, I give you the power, give it to me back. He was in the process doing that for Michel Martelly. Between those 5 years, a lot of things has changed. He started to fight Michel Martelly. He started to fight against a lot of rich people in Haiti. He started to fight against the opposition. And the only person or the only group that supported Jovenel was Mr. Trump. Trump supported Jovenel because he voted against Venezuela. There was a fight between the US and Venezuela, Maduro and the Trump administration. He voted against Venezuela, therefore he got the support from Trump. But he was doing so much bad thing in Haiti, the opposition was against him. The people into the diaspora started to rise in America. We had like 2 protests, one in Washington, May 18th. I don't know if you knew that. I was part of this protest. We went to Washington to tell Joe Biden, my friend.
And Mr. Dumas, I just wanted to cut in. And May 18th, that is a significant day for the our brothers and sisters in Haiti, correct? Is that the
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
So it was
exactly.
a very purpose. Okay, I'm sorry. So I just
Yes.
didn't believe
We
that.
went, yes. Yeah, we went to Washington. We had a protest to tell Joe Biden because when Joe Biden was campaigning, he went down to Miami and tell the folks into the Asian community, guess what? Trump is supporting Jovenel, and Jovenel is doing a very bad job into the country. If you vote for me, I'm gonna help you out. Okay, so the population voted for Joe Biden, and nothing happened. Back in January, Joe Biden until June, Joe Biden never said nothing about Jovenel Moise. He did not even mention Haiti in his speech. And then we got upset. And then we said, okay, guess what? We're gonna protest against Joe Biden, or we're gonna protest to tell Joe Biden, my friend, it cannot be, you can't do it like this because you said something in your campaign, please do something in Haiti. We did that in May 18, and then we went to New York in front of the UN, United Nations, to protest against Antonio Guterres, to tell them what is going on in Haiti cannot be continued. We are going into a chaos. This is what happened in Haiti. There was 13 massacres. Like people got killed, like between 20 and 32 people. 13 massacres in Haiti. There was people dying like on a daily basis.
And these were political murders. Were these political murders? Were these crimes?
No. It was like civilian people walking to the street, people who selling their own stuff, like kids that came out of school, the professionals, and there was a lot of kidnapping. Jovenel knew those kidnapping. He could not do nothing because he was supported by the mafia. For him to come into the power, he had support from Michel Martelly. He had support from a lot of people that doing, that's selling guns, that doing money laundering, that's selling drugs into the country. He cannot raise against them. He cannot fight them because he was part of the thing. And we was yes.
What was going on? It seems like what you're saying is what was going on for the last like 6 months is that Jovenel was fighting to stay in power, and in order to do that, he had to appease criminal elements.
Yes.
That also meant he couldn't come down on them, which means that crime increased, kidnappings increased, and he became more popular both inside of, like he became more unpopular.
Yes.
Unpopular inside Haiti because of the crime rising and organized crime really being unchecked.
Yes.
But
also he used
Dumas,
to give them some money.
Brother Dumas,
yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question. You can continue on, but do you think that the CIA in the United States had any involvement in that? Because you said that you all had went to the UN and you all were asking Joe Biden for help and you all were being ignored. Do you think that the United States and the CIA was aware of what was going to happen that night?
Yes. We're going to come into that one. I believe exactly what happened. They cannot come into the front door and tell Jovenel, my friend, you need to go. Because Jovenel and people that supporting Jovenel did a lot of work for the United States. You need to understand that. Most of the people that is into the Haitian government, they're probably CIA's agent, DEA agent, FBI agent. They probably like 80% or 70% people working inside of the Haitian government are US citizens, or they working for the US government in all of those different agencies. Jovenel working for the US government? I really don't believe so. But
I'm sorry.
Most of those people.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm sorry. Did he say 80%?
Like, is it like
yes.
So is this is something like, so, and I'm asking because I'm not familiar with a lot of these politics in terms of government. So when you're saying that, like, so many people, like 80% of the people within the government of Haiti are somehow affiliated with the United States.
Yes.
What is, like, is that speculation? Is that like, what? How do we know this?
Well, when you're working for the DEA, the FBI, and the CIA, it's very hard. It's gonna be very hard to find that out. But the people got inside of the Jovenel Moïse residence, 2 of those Haitians. It's a report from the CNN. It's a report from the CNN. You can check that out. Those only 2 Haitians from the report of CNN, it was CIA and DEA informant or agent. The only 2 Haitians. All those Colombians, most of them were trained by the U.S. Army back in Cuba.
Now, what you're talking about is the people who were found, the people who were caught, who are being held for the assassination. There were many of them who were Colombians. Some were trained by, like, I read also reports that some were trained by the United States military, the Officers of the Americas, I believe. Or they can't. I'm going to get the exact name, but they were U.S. trained. Many of them were U.S. trained. But so, tell me, if organized crime, right, was supporting the president, who killed him and why?
Well, the president got killed for many reasons. First of all, he got killed for political reasons. Nobody knew exactly who Jovenel gonna work to give the power. Michel Martelly wanted his power back, but also Jovenel as one of Martelly's worst enemy, his former prime minister Laurent Lamotte. he got into trouble with Martelly because Martelly is a kind of guy with some characters, and they could not work together, and then they got separated. And then he was working either to give Martelly the power back, either to give Laurent Lamont the power back, or either to give one of his longtime friend, Moïse Jean-Charles, the power back. He was killed for political reasons, first of all. Secondly, he was killed for economical reasons because he was fighting against rich people in Haiti. Like when I say rich people, there was a guy named Bob, Philip Bob, like Dimitri Bob. He was one of the richest guys in Haiti. He got this guy deported. Right now, Dimitri Bob is living in Miami because of political persecution from Jovenel Moïse. Jovenel Moïse kicked Dimitri Bob out of the country because this guy was making so much money. He was selling some electricity, but the money got lost, and then Dimitri had to leave the country. Jovenel Moïse wanted to put him in jail. That was the first one. There was another guy named Boulos. I think you should hear about this guy. One of the richest guys. He's the one guy who got all of those supermarkets, all of those renting cars. He's selling cars in Haiti. He was about to kick this guy out also. Jovenel Moïse said clearly, listen, very clearly. He said, I have 7 people that I have to kill, that I have to cut their head. Listen very carefully. You can do your research. He said, I have 7.
Who is this? Who's the person who's saying this?
Jovenel Moïse, the president. Yes. He said, I have 7 people that I have to kill or to cut their head for me to go with my agenda. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Jovenel Moïse got killed, but he was not an angel. He got into a lot of fighting with political opposition, with people that supported him to get into power, economical people, and for the last thing, it was a political murder, it was an economical murder, it was also a geopolitical murder. Now I'm gonna talk a little bit about if the CIA knew or if the CIA used other people to do the crime. 15 days before his assassination, he went to Turkey. He went to Turkey to talk with Erdogan, the president of Turkey. He went there, and 1 month before his death, the ambassador of Russia was accepted to come to Haiti. It was like for the first time that happened.
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Yes, it was the first time that Russia had his ambassador accepted to open a consulate in Haiti. That's got a lot of people's attention. First of all, he accepted a Russian ambassador. That it was for the first time in Haiti's history that an ambassador from Russia got accepted to open a consulate in Haiti. That was a big no-no for him. And then he went to Turkey.
Now, why is that? Why would that be a big no-no? Why would that be something negative?
Well, you know, the political struggle between the United States and Russia. It got involved into this debate because the Asian community, like the people that live in the diaspora, the Asian diaspora, got to Joe Biden administration. They started to tell them, listen, these guys need to go. You need to do something about that. And a lot of congressmen, probably you heard about that. 68 congressmen wrote a letter to Joe Biden to say to Jovenel Moïse that he need to go. Anthony Blinken got involved into that. And a lot of people were telling the Joe Biden administration, you need to do something about this guy. Therefore, the US government started to withdraw its support from Jovenel Moïse. This is why he wanted to go to Russia. He accepted the Russian ambassador to come to Haiti, and then he went to Turkey to speak with Erdogan. That was a big no. I'm not gonna say they knew or something was, but doing those two moves was a too big no for him to do. For people into Asian political arena, it was a big no because they know don't go to Russia in front of the United States. That's a big no. I don't have a problem with people working inside of the Asian government that are agent or for the US government. I don't care about that. We need to work together at some level. I love democracy. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but we need some support. Let me go back now when he got killed. He got killed, my friend, listen. He got killed when he's supposed to have 21 specialized bodyguard, 21 people that work into different agencies to protect the president. None of them got killed.
Oh, wow.
None of them got shot. None of them got hurt. It was only him that got killed. He was shot 12 times.
And
They
also,
said,
Brother Dumas, give the update about his wife. The report said one thing, but in reality,
exactly. The first report said his wife got killed, got shot 3 times.
Right.
One into his arm, one into his back, and one shot got into his bottom. And when we realized, like, somebody who got shot into the back and to his behind, they will have a lot of difficulties to walk. They will require like a lot of a therapy to walk well back again. 10 days after she got shot, she came back to the country only with something into her arm. And then a lot of people start saying, what? I thought she got shot three times. And then we start to realize that she got shot probably one time to her arm. Can you imagine somebody from like 20 other people with gun came to your house? You had 21 bodyguards to protect you. None of them got shot. None of them got hurt. Your wife only got wounded probably one time. You are the only one that got shot. We need a good investigation. Thanks God, the FBI, the NSA, the Justice Department are now investigating the case. But will they make the report available to everybody? We don't think so. But
so you're saying, so what you're saying is that also, because I know that the FBI is going to help investigate, and you're saying from your perspective that you don't know whether or not they're going to uncover something or cover something up.
Yes, and also, you know, when a crime is committed into the US, they always release the video. They always tell the people. They always come forward to say this is exactly what happened. None of footage has been made available to the people, to the public to see. When a CNN journalist X, the director of the police, of the national police, so give us the footage. He said, no, we have to wait until the investigation is finished so we can release some footage. Well, this is not the way things supposed to happen. What we know, those people who killed the president, all of 20 of them, 26 of them are Colombians from the Colombian army, trained by the US Army. Only 2 Asians that got inside of the operation that got him killed are US citizens. And they used to be DEA and the FBI agent or informant. He got killed onto the night when he called his head of security. His head of security was not there. Nobody knew he was. where he was at that night. He called the director of the National Police. Why he said the president called me exactly to tell me he's in danger. But when I was in my way to help him, somebody told me you need to go back because everything is okay right now. He's lying. It's like everybody's lying. They said something. They said his wife got shot 3 times. No, they don't want to release the footage. They don't want to come forward to tell us exactly what happened. So this is a very bad situation. Probably some people now said he got killed for his wife to run for president because he was out of control. He was out of control from the people who got him elected. He was out of control from the support of the US government. He was out of control. Exactly, he was out of control because everything he was doing was not political, or should I put it? It was not political. It was like just a suicide. He was working for him to get killed because all the decision he was making was not.
Let me ask you a question. So,
yes,
because we've heard right here in the United States, and I want to ask you your opinion. One is why do you think that his wife wasn't killed? And then two, there was a report that came out that said the way she survived. Naturally, we heard she was shot multiple times. We don't know if that's true, but then they said that the way she survived was that she played dead. Is any truth to that?
yes, she said she played dead. Exactly, she said she played dead, but we don't know if she did play dead. But it was very difficult to get shot only one into the arm. If anyone shoot you, and then they know the bullet got into your arm, they know you're not gonna be dead right away. You might dead like a couple of days from the bullet. You're not gonna. You I don't know. Well, I don't know who shot her, but anyone who got a gun into the head, they know if they shoot someone into the arm, they're not dying from that bullet wound right away. So I think she should be investigated.
So you're saying that
not be...
if he's shot 12 times and none of the security, because like no one else was hurt except for the president and his wife, that means his bodyguards were not hurt. His bodyguards were not hit. His bodyguards were not shot. And if you're saying that in that scenario, if his wife has basically what amounts to a shot in the arm, then and has not gotten was not murdered, then there are a lot of questions anyway about was it an inside job? Who simply because if you have bodyguards and bodyguards are there to protect you, some of them should be dead, right? Like some of them should have been jumping in front of bullets, like fighting somebody, right? Like, what did somebody sneak in, or was it? Did they go through them? Were the bodyguards just not there?
No, I just, and I don't know because none of us are there. But Jonathan, think about this. You think of any presidential, housing, whether it be a smaller country or the U.S., there are different layers. You got a wall, a gate. You got grass, you got the front door, you got, you know what I'm saying? So
somebody should have gotten right? Like some bodyguard, they should have been running across some bodyguard at some point.
And that's just think about that. And go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes, from the investigation, because the Asian police start releasing some information from the Colombians. They said they had someone inside of his house telling them that the president was watching a soccer game. They told those guys, those Colombians, said to the police investigator that someone inside of the president's house, the president was watching a soccer game at that time, because Haiti loves soccer so much. But if you want to do anything, if you want to invade Haiti and you don't want any resistance at all, you need to do it exactly when there is a good soccer game, because everybody are focused onto the screen watching the game. They said the president was watching a soccer game and they can come in. And they can just start doing that. But are they gonna pass all those security? There was a big entrance with like probably two guards watching at every level, every second. Inside of the compound, there was a big field. They're supposed to have people on top of the house, in different sections of the house, and they're supposed to have two men with big rifle in front of the door of the president. None of those guys got killed, but they show a video when the Colombian was saying this is a DEA operation. They said this is all they got inside of the president house. We saw the video the same morning. Someone into the neighborhood shot the video and they released the video on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. Yes, those Colombians use this tactic to get inside of the president's house, just in front of the gate. But the president cannot have only one gate, and then there is his office. They said this is a DEA operation. Stand down. You go on CNN or on YouTube, you're gonna find this video at 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. The guys were saying this is a DEA operation. Stand down. They were saying do not shoot at this guy because they do the job. This is a DEA operation. I can understand this is a good tactic because in Haiti, when you say DEA, you're gonna get people attention because there is a lot of drugs going on, and since the DEA come for you, nobody you can run, but you're gonna get caught. Probably this is what some guys got scared and they say, oh, okay. But they said they called the president. There's a lot of stories coming down. They said this is a DEA operation. Do not shoot at the guys. They said this is a U.S. military operation. This is the DEA with the U.S. Army. And then probably this is all they got inside of the compound.
So there are a lot of stories that are coming out, right? Like, as in, right? Because right now we don't really fully know, but there's a lot of speculation about like what was going on. We do know that many of the Colombians were trained at the School of the Americas. We do know that his bodyguards were not hurt. And I think that probably a lot of things will come out about like the stories that you mentioned. I think those are all really good and help me understand and help, I think, our audience understand this better, or at least how to follow the story. What's happening now? Like who's like there right now? It seems like there's a power vacuum. Like what's going on in terms of the power and who's supporting them?
Well, first of all, I have to let you know the way they killed the president was very unhuman. So they wanted to kill him, but they did a very bad a lot of stuff. If you saw, I don't know if you saw the pictures of the body of the president. One of his eyes he got shot on one of his eyes. They used some machetes to cut his leg, and also his arm. They broke his arm. They broke his leg. They used like something like a heart to broke a front of his head. And they really messed him up. They
didn't just shoot him. They tortured him.
No, they did not only shoot him because he's someone that came from the countryside. Someone from the countryside of Haiti, they very hard-headed. If they tell you they're gonna do something, well, they're gonna do it. And that's what got him into the trouble.
But John, what I'm saying is that they can tell whether those kind of wounds happened to him before he was shot, or did those wounds happen to him after those shots? Right? You can tell, right, when someone go and do an autopsy. They can tell, right, when they examine the body. So if he had those kind of wounds, My question is, did that happen before he was shot, or did that
Well,
happen
and,
after he was shot?
and let me tell you something. This is some Asian stuff, Asian cultural stuff. They said he was someone from the countryside. They do some voodoo stuff. If you shot him, it's not gonna get the bullet will not go through him. Probably they start shooting at him, but the bullet could not go through him because of some voodoo stuff. I don't know if it can happen or not. They said since the bullet could not go through him, they had to cut him first, because this is all this thing works anyway. This thing was the way this thing works. For him to get killed, for him to get shot, for the bullet to go through him, they had to do those things. Probably he got something in his eyes.
Wow.
That's why they shot him, or they use something to cut his eyes.
So
And
essentially
simply stated, it was very personal. And I don't know.
or ritualistic, right? Like,
Yes.
Because what you're saying is that
yes.
it's not necessarily like they didn't like him as a person. You're saying that this is deep within certain parts of Haitian culture.
Yes.
You don't just kill him; you kill him in a specific ritualistic way, so he remains dead.
And they could not kill him on any other day than 7/7. They wait for the 7th July, the 7th month, and it was the 7th day of the 7th month.
Is that something? Or those details that you're saying right now? Is that something that you would think could point to internal, like just a lot of like, because we were like the Colombians did it; it was external, but the way you're describing it means that it's both external and internal. Like there were a lot of internal.
Yes.
Like you're saying that was like the countryside, and there were people who supported him, and that means that was almost like a sign. Like the way he was killed gives you a clue about who killed him.
Yes, one of his closest friends gave an interview. He said clearly he was like delivered to be killed. They just let him go. They just tell his bodyguard to look the other way, to leave the compound, for him to get killed in the same day. And guess what? It did not go to the National Palace for like 2 weeks. It did not go to the National Palace because they were saying they're probably gonna have some explosion. They're gonna do something to him inside of the National Palace. He did not eat into the National Palace. He came with his own food to work at the National Palace. For 2 weeks, he did not go there. And then they say, okay, so we're gonna go after him inside of his house to do the job. This is very complicated. And some people said, probably his wife did it, because he got his wife into trouble with 2 different big reports, 2 different big affairs, or should I say, because one of Asian intellectual got killed, and then he went into the national television to say, my wife showed me the video. The guy got killed at 10:13 p.m. He said his wife showed him the video of the guy got killed at 10:15 p.m. 2 minutes after the guy got killed, his wife showed him the video of the guy got killed. That means his wife sent someone to kill the guy, and the person that killed the intellectual, like a Montpellier Dorval, a guy named Dorval, a very good intellectual, Asian intellectual, got killed, and he implicated his wife inside of the murder. That one. And this case got so big that every a court, every law institution into the world said something about this case, because this guy was an intellectual, Asian intellectual, and also worldly renowned guys that work in France, in Africa, in Asia, into the Latin America. Every institution that work with laws said something they want an investigation because this murder was very big in Haiti. And then he implicated his wife by saying, my wife got the video of this guy killed 2 minutes after he got killed. I don't know if that the reason his wife was part of it, but we need to ask his wife. His wife need to go on there a lie detector, and a good investigation need to go to ask his wife exactly what happened that night. Because
I know we're getting ready to run out of time, and one thing I wanted you to clarify also was to get back on these because we know there's going to be an investigation, and there's a lot that we don't know. I think
started already.
I'm sorry.
It started.
They started the investigation already.
Right, but one thing I'm curious about is what happens in the power vacuum, like, and I'm just asking you right now to speculate. I know you can't know what's going to happen, but given the people who it seems like Jovenel was in bed with, that he was assassinated, and there were so many different people who potentially wanted to kill him, from the business sector, from the organized crime sector, from people who were just upset with organized crime, potentially the United States, right? Like there's so many different people who done it. Who is going to benefit from this, and what does that mean for Haiti? Like, is there a possibility of Haitian democracy? Is Aristide coming back to the country?
This is the best question ever. This is the best question. The power vacuum, and who's gonna profit of this murder? But listen, this guy had like 7 prime ministers. For his 5 years, he got 7 prime ministers. Everything stopped going bad. He had to change his prime minister. He said, prime minister is not doing his job. I'm gonna kick him out, bring a new guy. Okay. He got killed on Friday. He fired the prime minister that guy. And then they wanted to find another prime minister. He nominated a new prime minister on Monday. On Wednesday morning, he got killed. The country had, hello?
I'm sorry, you said that on Wednesday morning he got what?
He got killed. He got assassinated. That means the country had 2 prime ministers. One who got fired, and one that has been nominated, but it did not take office yet. Some people said after he got killed, the prime minister who got fired, everybody was focusing on him. He said, yo, listen, he said, I got control of everything. The guy just got killed, and then the guy that got fired came on to national television and said, hey, I got control of everything. You can go to your daily basis. I got control of everything. So people start being suspicious, and then they said, the guy just got killed, and then you said you're in charge of everything without a good investigation, and then they start looking at him like pretty kind of shady. And there was a report from a news organization in Colombia that said this guy, Claude Joseph, the prime minister, he was the guy that planned the assassination. And then they said, so the guy got killed, you got fired, now you came back. No, not that way, not that fast. And then they said, you need to step down. The guy Jovenel nominated, they said, you need to work together. And then people said, no, we don't want Claude Joseph. We want the new guy to come into power. Now, there is a new prime minister. There is a new government. But the power struggle is still there because they don't know who's going to be the new president. There is a president from the Senate, like from the parliament. He wanted to come into the power. They said, no, we don't want you to become the president because you were part of the opposition, and people gonna look you funny because you wanted the guy to go. Now you're gonna come into power. They said no. Now the power struggle is between the old prime minister that got fired, the new prime minister that was not that did not take office yet, and the guy from the parliament, the president of the parliament of Haiti. Those 3 guys start fighting are still fighting now to become the new president. But my sense is now they probably leave the country without any president to calm things down, because the next guy that's gonna become the president, people gonna look at him funny. They're gonna say, "Oh, probably you were part of this assassination," and probably that's that's the thing that they usually do. They kill the president, the guy who played or the guy who played the assassination. They always take the barrel. In my sense,
so that's going to be probably. So
yes.
You're saying and I know we are running out of time, and we are going to we are wrapping up this section. We're definitely going to have you back on. But the thing that you said is that the person who becomes prime minister and president next, they are going. The people who take power next are going to seem like they're suspect in the murder as well.
Yes, exactly.
But even to that point, John, what he said was, he said the guy who got fired, and then the current the prime minister who's there now, these two guys are fighting over. But how did the guy that got fired? How is he back in the picture?
Exactly, because he got the UN support, because this guy was a student of the National Endowment for Democracy. He was a young student. The National for Endowment for Democracy recruited him because he was one of the guys that got arrested out of the country. He was a young student. He was part of the 2004 ouster of Aristide. The US recruited him. They came into the US for him. He studied very much. Now he got his master, doctorate. He is a professor at a university in New York. They call him in Haiti for him to be a secretary. After that, he worked to be a prime minister. When he got fired, the president got killed.
Brother Dumas, as we
gotta have him back.
We gotta have you.
Right.
I just want to ask you two questions, and then the most important question that we ask all of our guests. Real briefly, do you have any solidarity or words about Cuba? And then one of the things that you and I talked about before this is that there were other presidents that were not liked by the country, and there was a warning: you need to leave or this will happen, like Aristide, and they left. This President Moise did not heed that, because you said there were a lot of asks, please leave, and he chose not to leave. So that was the lack of wisdom, perhaps, that other people left. They fled the country. So okay, so we're going to have to do a part 2 of this, and there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be evolving. So we hope that you will come back and even contact us if you find that there's some news that you want to put out that you can educate us all on, because I also wanted to talk to you about the ambassador to Haiti and how is that meshing with the mission, but not now, but we're going to talk about it. So we got to leave.
Yeah. And also I need to let you know about the people's life in Haiti. I have families living down there, and all these things are playing into the life. So I will be happy to come back to especially speak about the life of the Asian people, and it is connected with the African American struggle in the United States.
Diaspora, yeah. So we will, and it is a lot, so I'm not going to keep, but we have one important question. This is a hip hop political show. So we asked, what hip hop artists or group are you listening to when you listen?
Or is your favorite? Or is your favorite?
Yes.
Oh, my favorite now.
And you can't say Wycliffe.
I was gonna say you better say Wycliffe.
Yes, Wycliffe is the number one, and Kodak Black is Asian, and I love Queen Latifah, and I love also Kanye West. I don't know.
Oh man,
I love Kanye West. I love Kanye West, and I love Jay-Z, all those old guys, and I listen to all those radio stations. I listen to hip hop a lot. I love hip hop. I love African American music. I think this is my kind of show. Probably I'm gonna just come back to listen to do some good music.
Okay, you hear that, John? And Brother Dumas, does Haiti have a team in the Olympics?
Yes, we do.
Oh, because I just want to let you know I'm representing Jamaica.
Oh.
Okay,
Wow.
Yes, Usain Bolt.
I saw that, Donald. I saw that.
Okay.
just want to shout out
Right.
Jamaica. Okay.
But, thank you so much.
I will be glad to come back. Thank you.
Definitely. And what you were saying was helpful. Even like because it was more thorough analysis. We got to ask questions. So thank you very much.
And I'm sorry, did you have any words of solidarity for Cuba? I do want you to say that because
yes.
sorry
we work with Cuba, and also I have a lot of families that live in Cuba, a lot of friends. So I think we need to talk a little bit about what's going on in Cuba and how we can help, because Cuba need a lot of help. We need to find out how we're gonna help Cuba to do this transition from communism to a democratic system. But we need to be very intelligent about that, because we don't want the same kind of democracy they try to put in Haiti without any knowledge, any good leaders to do the good work. This is a very good topic to discuss, and just like Haitian people, Cuba need your help, especially African American help, because we are related, because a lot of people from Cuba live in Haiti, or people that live in Haiti go to Cuba. We are very linked together. Thank you so much. Next time we're gonna talk about Cuba.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Dumas.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, that was good. I learned a lot from that particular interview.
So did
I
I.
think we all did. Like even the parts that were speculation were good, because they were good speculation. It was like, oh, this makes sense. These are at least questions that need to be asked in terms of thinking about it.
And you know what else too, in terms of Haiti being the first country that we would say that, kicked, I don't want to say it out, but in terms of claiming their freedom and how
kick the Europeans out. We could say that. Right. Kick the Europeans out.
It didn't come to my mouth like that. That's why. But it's a conversation.
Kick those racist white people out.
That's kind of how. Yeah. But we have to have that conversation, because they stand in a place of, we're not tolerating this. It seems like they ask nicely, and then if you don't take heed to their ask, then you will be leaving one way or another. So that's something, they're a very proud people, and it's always great to go back and look as we look to go back and look backwards as we go forward.
Yeah, I think that one of the things, though, that was real important about what that brother shared with us is that he said that 80% of the people that are in that government are DEA and CIA.
Well, I think that was more speculation, and I think probably exaggeration. I thought he was talking more about the people who assassinated Jovenel, the people who were involved in that assassination. A lot of were trained in School of Americas. Some of them were drug informants. So I think that there were a lot of those connections. But he said he actually said he could not, because some of them were drug informants. So I think that there were a lot of those connections. But he said he actually said what's happening right now with my sound and that delayed thing. So I guess we started talking about the government. And
well, it's funny you should say DEA as we bring on our next guest, Levi.
Good segue.
So Levi is DEA?
No. They're legal drug dealers. That's the whole thing, right? Like, they're doing it the right way. Like, they're now pharmaceutical companies, right?
I'm talking about his former life.
Whoa!
Remember his former life? Levi came on and talked to us about Nor Police, the Bronze Shield, and now you're retired now, Levi, right?
Absolutely.
You're retired and you're going into the next part of your life, and this next, what you're doing now in terms of what's coming forward with the legalization of marijuana in New Jersey, you were prepared. Like when them papers were signed, you was like, listen, I got the land, I got the plan, let's go. And then boom, you came. And I can remember probably almost 2 years ago, you were looking at a piece of land in Orange, you were thinking this out. And when you presented before the city council, I was very impressed, because if there was no plan in place, they really should have took your plan, because you thought about the community give back. You thought about it was like just a full, your package was a full package without any guidelines from the municipality. And unfortunately, and Orange happens to be a opportunity zone when it comes to marijuana and the dispensaries that may come there. And now there's a holdup because the government is not prepared, but you came prepared. So talk to us about that. And I'm getting this crazy echo too, but Levi, can you introduce both yourself and Travis? We got to figure out what's going on with this sound.
That might have been me, because I tried to share it on Facebook Live. But I just killed it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Levi Holmes. Like my sister Donna said, retired lieutenant from the Newark Police Department, amongst many other hats that I've worn in my previous life. Fortunately, today I'm talking to you as a partner of 93ID. 93ID is a corporation that applied for a vertically integrated marijuana license in the state of New Jersey. We're trying to house that in the city of Orange Township. With me is my partner, Travis Alley, who is one of the masters in growing hydroponically in the state of New Jersey, specializing in all types of wonderful grow. Travis, talk about your grow history.
And I like how you put that. You're like, he knows how to grow stuff. Like he just majors in hydroponic growth. You're like, he's the plug. He grows it from the ground. It goes from, he makes God work the right way on this stuff. He just goes and makes the good stuff that is going to be legal. That is legal.
Yes, his growth name is Farmer Hodge the God.
Well,
hashtag farmer.
So what we can talk about legally is I have legal farming experience from my other company, Little Box Farms, where we do specialize in hydroponic farming in modular urban designs. Now, as far as growing the plant we all know and love, there's a gray area. So there's what we call legacy operators and things of that nature. But I don't want to say the wrong thing and get us, stitched up anymore. So I would say we have partners, part of 93ID out of Colorado Harvest Company, and Hope Brands out of Nevada. And we have the Doctor's Knox out of Oregon. They're all, legal states that we partner with that bolster our application to go along with our on-site training and unaccounted for experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounded real clinical. That sounded real nice.
Yeah, you got to be this.
That sounded real nice. So you're talking about these tensions that are going on, right? Like we know weed is illegal. It's being grown. Mr. Ally, you are the farmer extraordinaire. So what is the holdup, right? It's legal. Why not just open the boutique? Why not? You got the land, you got the plan. Why not just, we're not selling? Why is there no commerce?
Perfect, but he's a minority. Everything
right.
That he's, to set aside, everything that you need is right here in this package.
Like you black can make money off this, which is like good because you're black and they're not throwing you in jail for it. So we appreciate that.
And if I had to say, if anybody else, and then Levi, like I said, he's a retired police officer, so now he knows what not to do. Mm-hmm. and from that perspective, and also. And really, because how you framed your plan, I was like, wow, this was really, really good. You really thought of everything. And
so what's the holdup?
And one beautiful thing that we thought of, Donna, that no one else did is our partnership with the local union, right? So we actually signed documentation to work with a local union. I think it was 152. And what we did with them is we decided from the rip that when we open our doors, we're going to offer up to 60 union jobs. Right. No one else is doing that. No one else is doing that because Travis and I are truly, truly concerned about building up the community. right? This is no get rich quick scheme plan for us. This is a truly thought out, well-designed plan in order to empower the community. And like Donna said, we found a beautiful location in Orange, right on Freeway Drive. It's a wonderful facility for us. We had the support letter from the mayor, so we were ready to rock and roll.
So what's the holdup? Like it seems like you've done everything right. It seems like you've got a plan. You've got a plan that's more thoughtful than others. There's community give back. You are minority owners, right? Like you are also making sure the community, the people who work there, aren't being exploited. They're union jobs. So whereas Amazon's like, no union, you're like, nah, we're gonna be making enough money with this.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a few things I want to say, and I sometimes I toe the line of being hostile and just being
No, Travis, I have to say at that council meeting, you were really good. I was like, who is this dude? It's like, you were really good. Yeah.
I just like to make it plain for folks. Right. So regulation in this context is economic gentrification. There is no reason why, as you alluded to at the very start, when they first went to legalize marijuana, which we now call cannabis, since white folks seem to like it, is that they should have decriminalized from the start, and then for usage, then decriminalize the logistical component of it, all the supply chain, right? And then those legacy operators should have been grandfathered in. But what happened was the legalization, aka the regulation, stole from black and brown folks and gave it all to white folks. Now, as a black man trying to get into the market legally, whether you've done it before or not, now you fall into this equity category, right? And to me, it's a ghettoization of the black man in particular. We shouldn't be clamoring for social equity. We want damn equity. We want capital equity. We should be arguing for 100% of the licenses to go to black men and brown men, and then negotiate from there. And we should not be satisfied or content in any way with the measly 15% target for minorities, and there's a 15% target for women and others. So by definition, an Asian woman who is the least affected by the drug war has twice the chances I do as a black man who was by far the most affected by the drug war to get one of these equity licenses. And that's just BS to me.
Wait, so you're saying, okay, so you're saying practically in Orange right now, like, because the serious question is, you have a plan, you're there, why aren't you already licensed? Like, what's the holdup? Because really the point was both of you were supposed to get the licenses first.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, there's a process, right? So we're part of the 2019, you heard that right, 2019, yes, 2 years ago process to get awarded a license before the legalization. This is still under medical, right? And then the law passed. So much time, we've been so long ago, that's now become legal. But that's just the law. It had to be socialized through the legislator and then enacted through the executive branch, right? So previously, all of medical marijuana fell under the Department of Health. Now it falls under the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, okay? So the Cannabis Regulatory Commission now owns that 2019 process. And it was delayed because a select few of privileged out-of-state companies couldn't follow directions. They sued the state. Then Corona happened. A year and a half later, it gets resolved. Their cases get thrown out of court. Now the CRC 3 months ago started rescoring applications, and we have good intel that are going to make the announcements of the winner of 2019 in the next few weeks. Then after that, they're going to announce the next battery of licenses and how one is able to compete for that.
Okay, so what it seems like you're saying is that these percentages work against us because they're going to only that instead of being a minimum, it's a cap.
That's we won't know until, so here's the thing. Right now, there's 12 licensed companies in New Jersey, and they have a total of maybe 20 something locations, right? Because a lot of them have been doubled up since they got their first license. Because you have to wait after 18 months and you can apply for another location, okay? There's 25 licenses that are at stake from 2019. So we'll see. We got 12, we got 25. we'll see what percentage of those are really black owned and just do the math, right? Because what I'm afraid of is that the target numbers won't be floors, they'll be ceilings. And what we actually have a meeting with the CRC on Tuesday, and we're going to lobby them, say, look, a couple of things need to occur. We need to do whatever we can to make sure black men get these licenses. You should not treat these set-asides as a ceiling. And when you fill up those slots, they should all go to black men and brown men, and then forget the 15 plus 15, go up to 70%, right? And then when we talk about the micro licenses, you really have to have a program in place for that to actually succeed. And hopefully we'll get into micro licenses, because that's the real opportunity that I want your audience to really hone in on. If you want to be part of the industry, you need to go the micro license route, because you're going to get elbowed out the other way.
All right, so what is a micro license? What's that strategy? And why would the other strategy mean that you're getting elbowed out?
Okay, so a micro license is basically a limited license whereby you can only go up to 2,500 square feet. And then after 18 months, you can graduate into a full license. And the cost of entry is a lot less, and the scrutiny of the applications will be a lot less. So what this is actually is a really huge deal. It's a backdoor into the industry with minimal investment, but it's still a lot of investment. Here's do a little math. So a 2,500 square foot thing, if you're trying to outfit it for cultivation, it's still a tall task for the average, person that doesn't come from means in a troubled area, right? You got to find the building that's properly zoned, and then you're going to have to secure that building and then fix it up. If you get the license, it'll cost you about $1.25 million. So what part of our meeting with the CRC on Tuesday is say, look, we have another solution. We did another company because we do see the obstacles in the road, right? And because I have a background doing that modular farming, we created another company called Bud Box Farms, where we're going to give away the actual capacity, the legal advice, the mentorship, the whole thing, kit and caboodle, in a containerized farm that's turnkey. And we're hoping and we want the people listening here to call the CRC, tell them, say, look, you said that there was no program that can finance us to get us into the industry, but actually there is. We can go through Bud Box Farms. The CRC should be working with us because we're actually trying to make what they profess to be their vision an actual reality.
Wait, so you lost me a little bit on this, right?
Squeeze a lot in.
All right, so what you're saying is that micro licenses are good. People are not going to, they're kind of hiding it, right? Like they're not letting really people know about the process or how to get into micro licensing from a financial point of view.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I don't think they're necessarily hiding it. I don't know if they're doing a good job of promoting it, but we'll see, right?
More like hiding it in plain sight, maybe?
Yeah, kind of like that, but also they haven't really thought it through. What I think a lot of times we give people too much credit, and I think when it comes to micro licenses, there's people I know, Assemblyman Holly and a few others are really looking, to trying to push, a means for Black folks that don't have means to get into the business. But you got to think it all the way through. And Levi and I can tell you, after going through this licensing process, it doesn't matter what the size of the building is. There's so much cutthroat stuff going on when it comes to real estate and the zoning and things of that nature. It can be 200 square feet. You're not going to get a place, right? So I think if the intent is real, I think most people do want to see actual equity from Black folks in this business. Now what you need is capital and you need capacity. And with Bud Box Farms, we saw both. Because we have some money behind us, we can say, look, we can build these things out. They're ready to go. They're turnkey. They're modular, right? So we can come to our innovation hub in Orange and get the mentorship, or we can put it on a truck and deliver it to you, right? Now, what I'm afraid of with the micro licenses is because they're a backdoor and because all the white folks with money read the law, they're going to try to hitch a ride to a local candidate and go with that, because the micro licenses are not subject to any racial quotas, right? It's about New Jersey and small. So what's going to happen is you have folks who got money, get little cousin Johnny. They're going to finance him a nice 2,500 square foot space, blow it out, fix it up. They'll do great business, and then they'll graduate to a major license in 18 months. And the other cool thing about micro licenses is the way I understand the law is that dispensaries must buy from micro licensees first before they buy from the big boys, right? So micro licensees are almost guaranteed sales. And even at 2,500 square foot space, you'll be making a couple $1,000,000 in your first year if you do it right.
So, okay, so now so you're talking about the growing part of it. Like, so there's the retail business, and then there's the wholesale business. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, in other words, are the people who that there are micro licenses for growing and micro licenses for retail?
There's micro licenses for 5 categories, I believe. Don't quote me wrong, but for sure, for every license category, they also have a micro license.
Okay.
I think except for maybe delivery or rep, but you got cultivation and you got manufacturing, which is the processing, making the edibles and all those things, and retail. Don't quote me on the retail, but I believe you can do a micro license retail, but maybe not. But for sure, cultivation and manufacturing, and I believe those two are huge opportunities because you can get into the business and you can expand from there. And after this round, after 2019, whenever they go ahead and make the announcement, there are no more vertical licenses, right? So what you should do is network. You get a cultivation license, your buddy get a manufacturing license, your homegirl get a dispensary license, and in 18 months, y'all form like Voltron. That's the way to do it.
So you're talking about mentoring people who want to get into this because the laws are very complicated, and you're going to need, and you're basically what you're describing is you need a guide.
You absolutely need a guide. And just before I do a little plug, just to give information out there, y'all can send an email to info@93-id.com. That's our company. Or you can go to budboxfarms.com, fill out the form, and we'll get your info that way. I think it's imperative that we speak with one voice, right? Both as a community people and as the applicants from 2019, because in a few weeks, what's going to happen is there's going to be an announcement. There's 146 companies like ours that did nothing wrong. They've been waiting for almost 2 years for an announcement. Now, we spend $20,000 a month. So you can do the math real quick. We spend about $500,000 just waiting, right? There's 146 of us. So even if we're the median or the max divided by 2, you're talking about tens of millions of dollars that have been spent just holding on to buildings, right? So once they make this announcement of winners, the 24-25, that's 121 losers.
Wait. So you're saying that there are people who have invested in real estate, property.
Oh, yeah.
That have really played by all the rules.
Yes.
But 21 of them are going to get screwed.
121 of them.
Not necessarily 121 of them are going to lose maybe $500,000 to $1 million.
Correct. And what I suggest we need to do as a group, that's how I want to get the contact info out there. For those companies that were part of 2019, like Levi and myself and 93ID, we need to connect with each other. And when this state makes an announcement, they need to make sure that before they announce the next battery of licenses, that the losers from 2019 are provided some sort of mitigation, right? There's got to be some way that the people who held on to property for 2 years because the state told them to are accounted for. We can't just be skipped in line. That's not fair.
Fair enough. I thought you were going to also suggest something like there's networking and working together as well in terms of losers have to work together, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Are you stronger? So of those companies, if y'all came in and created a partnership and now everybody's kind of sort of eating, is that possible?
Yeah, well, I think what we got to do is have like a industry trade group within the industry trade group. We need Black solidarity because the other groups will take care of themselves, right? Now, what I would like to see happen is people need to just start connecting. I had a few companies reach out to me that were part of the 2019 process as well. That were Black owned that I was unaware of. We got in touch with Brown Box in Orange, and I forget my man's name from Central Jersey. So now we all talk. That's what we want to do is present language to the CRC and to the legislatures as a group. And the main thing we all agree on when it comes to the process itself is you have to divorce the person from the property and the capital, right? Because Black folks are not going to have the buildings, the zoning, and the capital to compete, right? Mm-hmm. And we need to push back on this 15% set aside for minorities. It really bothers me, and I'm going to say the uncomfortable part, that as a Black man, I can be specifically targeted by the police, but a Black man cannot be specifically targeted for social equity. It has to go to minorities, but all minorities aren't equal. Okay, and there's a book out right now, Inconvenient Minority, by an Asian man that basically sounds like a right-wing Republican wrote it and talks about how different they are and how they're not like other minorities. Okay, well, I agree with you. So why should you be taking up real estate in the quote-unquote social equity lane?
Let me ask you, because wow, this time went by. Levi, you haven't spoken.
Listen, when Travis get on the roll, I just let him go. He'll go all day.
I know. That's how he was at that meeting that night. He was like, he was raw. I was like, Travis. But from the educational standpoint, where are we at in New Jersey? I have seen colleges, and I think more Southern colleges, they're running a curriculum about the growing, and they're actually creating a whole curriculum around this. Are you guys participating in helping any of the New Jersey colleges create a curriculum? And are there any curriculums already in New Jersey moving, forward? I think I was looking at a college in North Carolina that I heard this.
Yeah.
Rutgers is doing some things. We actually talked to Rutgers during the application process about forming a partnership. The way Rutgers is handling it is they'll just sign whatever for anybody who applies. And once you get the license, then you can work with them. So it's really hard to do anything until we receive the license directly. However, directly, our partners, the Doctors Knox out of Oregon, they're a Black family of doctors. They actually, so there's different levels of education, right? There's educating just the citizens, right? There's educating politicians, law enforcement, but there's also education of doctors. So our friends and partners in Oregon are actually creating a curriculum for doctors to be trained, because right now there's a huge gap between the efficacy of cannabinoid medicines and what doctors actually know about them. That's why even today, like if you try to get a medical license, it's kind of seedy and you got to go to a marijuana doctor because, there's that cultural wall that has to be knocked down where people just think of marijuana as dirty, even doctors, right? So there's different levels of education. And as we can see right now from all these towns opting out, and we've had our struggles there in Orange, and you've probably seen, that's probably what you heard us speak about. You have 70+% of the people be for a thing, but you got these city councils, and this is not white folks doing something to us. There's like a lot of city councils that are all Black that will then go against the will of the people. And that's in part, just stubbornness, but it's in part education. So it's like kind of each one teach one. There's not really a formal way to go from college to the people who need the information in a seamless way. It's just going to be a struggle and just keep talking.
Yeah, and this situation in Orange is getting really frustrating because we've been attending council meetings. We had hundreds of people attend council meetings virtually with us. Everyone in the township of Orange says they want it and they love our program. They love what we developed within 93 ID and what we want to bring to the town of Orange.
And Brown Box.
Yet at this point, Orange is still debating if they're going to ban cannabis from the town or not.
Hold on. I missed that whole thing. I thought you were just waiting for regulatory information from the state.
We are. So there's two things, right? So there's the regulatory information from the state, which is we won or we didn't win, right? And then there's Orange, which will allow us to run our business or not. So essentially, if we get the license and Orange opts out, we're free agents and we're looking for a home, right? So that means the money, but Orange, I don't want to make threats, but they better not do that because they owe us money and we'll have an easy lawsuit for all the money we spend in Orange.
Wait, time out, because I'm still not fully understanding why this stuff makes sense right now, because you're saying that
don't try too hard.
I'm just gonna try to give it an attempt, right? So you went through the state process.
Yes.
Yes.
You secured land.
Yes.
Yes.
Orange knew what you were securing this land for.
Time out there. That's where the confusion is. So what happened was, and that's where the disconnect was, Levi, myself, and our whole team.
Wait, Jonathan, pause for a second, Travis. Can you imagine? That never starts out right. See, baby, what happened was. See, what happened was.
Right.
So what happened was we got thrust into a high school clique thing that we knew nothing about. Now, per the licensing requirements, you had to get approval from the town. So we inquired what that meant because it wasn't very clear. And they said, well, get the mayor to approve it. And that's good. We went to several mayors. We got Newark Mayor, Ross Baraka. We got the Irvington Mayor, and we got Orange. We might have a few others. I don't remember. We got their approval. We found the building. We completed the part A of the application successfully. Got all the checklists. We got endorsements from the FOP, the NAACP, and a bunch of other stuff, right? Plus the mayor. Submitted the application. We're in, right? Then the legislature, the town council of Orange, finds out. And they weren't consulted, right? Well,
you got approval from the mayor.
We got approval from the mayor. So the council is mad at the mayor for not telling them, and 93 ID and Brown Box have to suffer. Yeah. That is what happened.
And the crazy thing is, we secured our property, right? Like Travis said, we've been paying $20,000 a month since August of 2019. Based on the letter of support that we got from the Township of Orange and the mayor, who said, you're good to go in our town at that location, you're good. We're fine, we're happy. Now we're at a junction where the council is saying, not so fast, we have to vote on it, we have to approve it. And now there's a back and forth, like Travis said, between the council and the mayor, and we're stuck waiting.
You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like, and I'm mostly joking here, but it sounds like the council wants to come over and inspect and see it, because I figure it's all about conversation, and something tells me that the two of you know a way for that conversation to go much, much better.
Yeah.
Much more relaxed kind of conversation. No heating, not heating. Bring extra cookies, right? Yeah. And I think that if you just bring them all around, have a big batch of cookies, and start talking, I think that it might sway the council.
But let me ask you a question, Levi, Travis. In your presentation, I did not hear, and I could have missed it. And especially since you're consulting with Oregon, because I know they're kind of leading the way in terms of decriminalizing and things like that. In your package, does any of that money go set aside for persons needing treatment or anything like that? So, there are other problems in the community, and did you put any money aside to help with that? Because a lot of people that were locked up in the past, now this is kind of sort of going to come to assist, in particular from marijuana, but you still have the social ills of other drugs in the community. So did you put any of set aside for that, for treatment? Because I know Oregon is particularly doing that.
Yeah, well, specifically, we have a person that's part of our team too, Beatrice Beckford. You probably should interview her. She's really great. And we created a C-level role called Chief Justice Officer. So in addition to treatment, there's also just returning citizens, right? People coming home from lockup, particularly those that have been affected by the drug war, how to socialize them back into society properly, right? We actually, as part of our application process, reached out to an organization, I can't remember the name, that deals with returning citizens, helps them find employment, things of that nature. And we wanted to do a deal with them. The problem is it's really hard for employment because, like I said, things are just out of sequence. We passed this great law that actually encourages companies to hire people who are formerly incarcerated, particularly by the drug war, right? But then when you reach out to these organizations, they say, look, man, we don't want to mess with that because we don't want to get our guys violated by the POs, right? Mm-hmm. So you have this law up here, but you got you got probation officers down here.
Wow.
Right? They'll still violate you. So it's complicated. Well, there's a lot of good intentions out there, but there's not that synergy from pillar to post where it all works. But yes, to answer your question, we plan on working on treatment and on for those addicted to drugs. Levi is actually heading up bringing the police athletic league back to Orange and Newark, and to invest in that. We plan on setting aside 5% of our profits towards those kind of initiatives.
And what we were doing.
And I'm sorry, Levi, you have to put Tracy Childress over Pal. This has been his baby. He's like, where's the Pal and Orange? That's all right. You got to bring him back. I know, but Tracy just always was fighting. Where's the Pal and Orange? So just let him. I don't know if he could be an advisory or something, but make sure you include Tracy Childress in that plan.
And to Travis's point, well, we were working with the Newark Conservancy downtown Newark, right on Springfield Avenue. So we were talking to them about actually giving some type of entry-level jobs to those people re-entering society. And like Travis said, a lot of them would not be able to work with us or in very, very small roles. And it we wouldn't have a lot of positions for them either. So that was a complication that we're trying to overcome.
Right. And I think isn't that an oversight in the legislation, as in, like, the whole point of the social justice part of the legislation is they shouldn't have been jailed for this. It shouldn't have been illegal. It should never have been illegal. You are incarcerating Black people for no reason whatsoever, right? So now when they get out, they can't make money. Like, the whole part of this was they should be able to make money off of this.
Yes.
Right.
And they're like, nah, because their probation. Is there any? It seems like the fix for that seems like it would be as quick as the fix for your city council problem. It's just like they're doing stuff that doesn't make sense, and I don't understand why. It's almost like deliberately being malicious. At this point. Like, if you're a probation officer and you violate somebody, you should lose your job.
However, I think we all understand at different levels, and I want to say too many bad things about cops because my buddy's over there. Police have a lot of power. And that power, I don't think, is really understood all the way down to the boots on the ground level, right? So you can pass whatever law you want. Just think about right now, what was the thing going on where police are complaining? Oh, they're complaining about the law itself, right? That now in the legislation, police cannot detain or something like that, a minor because of smell or something like that. And the police are pissed because they're not going to be able to arrest as many people, right? So I don't know what. And another problem is it's not like there's a statewide police rule book that penetrates down to every level, right? So I don't know what the solution is, but it needs to get down to the real, where the rubber meets the road. A guy's coming out of prison, what happens next? And I don't think anybody really clearly understands all the touch points where he can get stitched up and sent back in jail.
How easy it is for him to be reviolated, even as something that is legal, right? Because now, can you speak to this, Levi? By the way, I did one of our good friends, a friend of the show. We've known him for 30 years. Marcus Reeves wrote a book on the bronze shields that's coming out. Are you a part of that?
Am I a part of it?
Oh, no! Did he
now I'm turning into Travis right now.
Oh, you said what?
I'm about to turn into Travis right now.
Okay.
Listen, so I was the president of the Newark Bronze Shields for the past 10 years. From 2000 to 2010, I was the president. 2010 to 2020, I was the president. So what happened was our historian many years ago, he started writing a book. So I took his very, very early and basic manuscript, and I contacted Marcus. And I told Marcus that I really want to get this book done. So Marcus and I go way back to college days anyway. So we worked together, and what Marcus did, he actually interviewed, 50, almost 100 people, past members of the Bronze Shields, historians in the city of Newark, state of New Jersey, politicians, everyone else, and he put together a wonderful book about the history of the Newark Bronze Shields. And I thought it was really important because not very often do organizations tell their own story. right? You always have to wait till the organization is no longer in existence and someone who really didn't know much about the organization got to tell the story. So while we're here and we're really active and vibrant in the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey, we have Marcus put together this wonderful book just telling our history, and it's really exciting.
So Levi, let me ask. Go ahead. Did you have a follow-up, Jonathan?
Yeah, the follow-up question I was having for that is the question that Travis mentioned about all the different ways that police can screw you over. As a person, an experienced Black police officer, what would be some of the solutions so that you can get some people who are formerly incarcerated, like some of those good union jobs?
So what, in terms of the police and the police's participation in this?
Right, like in other words, we were talking about like the law might not be like just passing a law. There's a lot more to it than simply passing a law, right?
Right.
All these other, because even if the law is passed, the judgment of individual officers can violate someone. Or just the vulnerability of someone who's returning from prison, like they're susceptible to a whole lot of things that regular citizens are not subject to.
So the whole thing in the city of Newark, even though Travis might disagree, right? But we have this really big reform program that's been going on in the city of Newark, and what we've been doing is not only do we have leadership for having police officers focus not so heavily on enforcement and hasty enforcement, right? But to uplift the community. But we're organizations like the Newark Bronze Shields and many other organizations within the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey where we're checking each other, right? Well, we have people now, officers now, who are looking at other officers and talking to them and saying, hey, right, we don't want to give this person their first arrest for a bag of marijuana if they've never been arrested before, because it can harm their lives and harm their livelihood from this day forward. So we're having these types of conversations, and it's really working in the city of Newark, and that's why we had such wonderful success when we had the protests going on all around the city. The citizens actually protected the police when the rioters came towards us, and many great things like that because of what we have going on in the city of Newark. So to answer your question, every town, right, with Black and brown people need to have a residency requirement, which is critical, that you can't violate. Because the people from the community need to police their own community, because we have a different level of compassion and understanding about our people, right? So we're not afraid of our people. We know how to relate to our people. We're not shocked and alarmed when someone's doing something what another person might think it's dangerous, right? We know the difference. We understand, and I think that's one of the biggest things we have going on in the city of Newark.
Can I jump in there real quick to answer your question?
Yes.
I think there's 4 things that Black folks need to focus on when it comes to politics. And you probably, doing what y'all do, probably talk to a lot of Black folks who got these great ideas who say, I don't get into politics, right? Because they say it don't matter. They're both the same, right? And that's true, but it's also not true when it comes to local politics. There's 4 offices. There's the mayor, there's the sheriff, there's the warden, and most importantly, there's the DA. There's a good documentary on PBS called Philly DA. I don't want to spoil it, but y'all should watch it. I would say as an organizational principle, if you really want to see justice when it comes to the injustices of the criminal justice system, you need to organize and get the DAs, the mayors, the sheriff, and the wardens out and get our people in. And that's the only way really you're going to see change, because they can pass whatever laws they want. The cops still have a lot of autonomy, and more importantly, their union has a lot of political power, right? So you can see what's going on in Jersey right now. They're already trying to claw back some of the language that was passed because of the pressure from the police.
Yeah, and just to jump on it real fast, in the city of Newark, there's enough of us who are active and conscious who impact the decisions that our union makes. Right. So in towns like Elizabeth or other towns whose union is, like it was Travis saying, they make all the decisions. They have all this political power. In the city of Newark, our FOP, there's enough of us to make who can change the focus of our union and make it go in the way we want to. I mean, our union actually endorsed the Mayor Baraka twice, back to back his first 2 terms. And that's because all of us were in there. We made sure that our union endorsed our mayor.
So and Donna, you always talk about civics lessons, and it seems like what both of you were talking about is we're talking about like often we talk about the legislative branch in terms of the branch that makes the laws. And what it seems like you're saying is that we need to also focus on the executive branch, as in the enforcement of laws, because the executive branch controls, like, you know, the
day-to-day,
the
legislature. And going back to the basic, what Travis was saying earlier, what should have happened, what happens in a perfect world, is the city council writes legislation. This is coming down from the state. The state, the governor, the legislature, the assembly, and the Senate, they legalized marijuana at the state level, and it went to a vote. They put the plan in. Now, oftentimes you can just take the state's legislation adopted at the local level and modify it. But whatever the case, as this was coming down the pike, the city council, you know, saying that it's coming down, could have written up some laws. I don't know, take the ABC law, the alcohol, and just put marijuana where it says alcohol in there. Just write something up, because laws are modified, and write it up, and then the mayor signs off on it, or he vetoes it and it comes back. Whatever the case, there's that interaction between the legislative and administrative. But the city council writes the laws, the mayor signs it, and then it goes into law. And in this case, as it was coming down, Levi, essentially, you know, you have to go to the mayor. The city council cannot sign off on that letter saying, you know, we support this. So it would have to be the mayor. And in that process, that there should have been some legislation going on. And, you know.
And Donna, what I did was I actually brought Newark's legislation to Orange, right? Newark had an ordinance set already that was approved. I brought that to Orange and say, hey, listen, here's a framework for you. You can use this and modify it, tweak it, do what you want.
Yeah, but the other problem, one more thing real quick, we're on that topic. These individual towns need some guidance, and that's what I'm going to talk to CRC about on Tuesday. They should create templates for the towns who are reasonably confused and don't know what to do. So for example, Newark, like Levi just mentioned, yeah, they got ahead of it and they created a plan. But when you get down into the weeds, like when we're looking, the reason why we're in Orange and not Newark is because there were no buildings zoned properly. And if they were buildings, they're owned by the same guy, and that guy stabbed us in the back because he ran the shot clock out on us, because there's only 4 buildings that actually were zoned properly in Newark. Right. And the other thing is because it's marijuana.
And this hypothetical, when you're talking about it, maybe say it's not, everything in Essex County is within 1,000 feet of a school zone, but whatever the criteria was, it could have been, it has to be facing north or whatever. So this particular building that you purchased met the criteria. So you were good to go with that piece of land and that building.
Yeah. And then that person owned all the buildings in Newark that were zoned properly. Right. So he was the only show in town. So the way they craft the legislation, you got the legislation over here that the state passed. Then you have the towns that create an ordinance to say, okay, we don't want it next to schools, churches, blah blah. Put it in zone C3, let's say, right? But nobody checks to see, okay, well, how much opportunity does that actually present? Because when you call them by the same guy, or what happens is that the town either didn't know or the state doesn't know that of a company, there's like the big warehouses in Newark that were zoned properly, right? However, they had federal money, right? Being banks were part of their ownership or lent the money, whatever. That's no good. The building has to be privately owned, free and clear, because despite the fact it's legal here in the state, in a lot of states, it's still federally illegal.
Right. We're still waiting for
and banks, etc. Now,
wait, I just wanted to, Jonathan, one thing, because we're on our DJ's time and our DJ has come on. So I wanted to see if DJ Rhino had any questions for our guests.
We're thinking on the same lines.
Okay.
He's muted. Rhino, you're muted.
Nah, I mean, the only question I would have right now, I mean, I came in late, so I came in late with the conversation, but all I would have is that closing question. Is to know what these brothers are listening to, because you know, really, because that means a lot to the community as far as where your ear is, what are you listening to? Because a lot of time, on the forefront, we gotta play a certain role. We gotta be a certain way for the people. You know what I'm saying? But behind the scenes, we like to listen to certain things. We like to groove to certain things that, that's outside of that, and so it's interesting to get those perspectives from y'all. You know what I'm saying? So as far as hip hop, because it's a political hip hop show, what are you rocking to right now in your car, or who are you listening to right now? Who you feeling just overall in general? Maybe who you might feel is like the GOAT of all time in hip hop. Who are you listening to right now?
All right, can I go first?
Go ahead.
I'm stuck in the 90s. I don't listen to nothing new. Greatest rapper of all time, I'm gonna go with Nas. My most played, what I listen to most frequently, I like from a group, I like EPMD and Wu-Tang Clan and Public Enemy. West Coast, because I am from Cali. I love Ice Cube and E40 from the Bay.
Excuse me, Travis. Ives was born in.
Those are all good selections right there.
Ice Cube was born in North Carolina. He grew up on West
Coast. But he from that West Coast.
Okay. Go ahead.
And me, the one when, like you saying, Rhino, when I'm by myself in my own little space, I lose my mind on the lyrics of Lil Wayne.
Wow. Okay.
His lyrics are crazy. I mean, he is a true lyricist, and I really sit in my room in my basement and I jam to him.
You know what's funny? Go ahead.
And my favorite group is the Lost Boys back in the day.
Okay.
Yes,
all right, Queens.
Yes.
Queens, New York in the house.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, now what I was gonna say is that Lil Wayne, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people have certain feelings about Lil Wayne, but I have seen Lil Wayne on his freestyle vibe, you know what I mean? When he's just freestyling off the head. Mm-hmm. And I was amazed. I was amazed at how good he and sharp he was off the head, coming up with his lyrics. So I'm not mad at that because I've seen it. I've seen Wayne like kill a mic off the head, freestyle. That shocked me.
Can Lil Wayne get with Jada Kiss? That's what I want to know. But Levi,
Donna's a Jada Kiss fan. You bring up Jada Kiss like every week.
What about some funk and Afro Latin and some jazz and some Fela Kuti though? What about that?
But
most definitely.
But Levi and Travis, by chance, did y'all get down to NJ Pack? And Eric B is a friend to the city of Newark. I heard were you down there last night? I heard they killed it.
No, I wasn't.
Everybody
was going crazy. Everybody was streaming it, Facebook Live, and everything was going. It was
clap to this. You tell the council you thought I was a donut. You tried. You got to.
I forgot about Rakim. Okay.
Yeah. I got a chance to see Rakim when he came to NJ Pack the last time before the pandemic, when he came with Big Daddy Kane and everybody, and he rocked it. Man.
Yeah, that was a great show. I really missed that show because everybody told me that was a great show.
Right.
Yeah, it was really good, man. Really good. Yeah.
Hey, can we get one more plug in? I just feel like we're about to wrap up.
Yeah.
Buttboxfarms.com. Come holler at us, and we can get y'all into this business through the micro licenses with a turnkey hydroponics farm that we design and build for you. And 93-id.com. Come read about Levi and myself, what we're trying to do in Newark and Orange, or shoot us an email, info@93id.com.
And I just want to say one more thing. The biggest thing that makes Travis and I different is that we're trying to pull everyone with us from day one, right? Mm-hmm. Day one, we're talking about getting other people into the business. Day one, we're talking about union jobs. Day one, we're talking about community givebacks. This is our plan. No one is telling us this. No one's twisting our arm. This is what we want to do. And we really wanted to bring it to a town like Newark or Orange. The crazy thing is other towns with people that don't look like us are calling saying, hey, 93ID, we heard about you. Can you come to our town?
Well,
and
Levi,
we're trying to hold on for our people, but it's not working.
So that's always a story. It's like, well, and Levi, I don't know if y'all have connected with a son of Orange, and that will be former basketball player Al Harrington. And Al has out on the West Coast been doing a product, I believe it's called named after his grandmother. And that was one of the things he said. So I'm thinking 10 years ago, he was thinking about this, but make sure y'all hook up with them. But I just wanted to, before we close, the Bronze Shield, Queen Latifah's father, was he a member of the Bronze Shields?
Yes, I talked to him every now and then. He was a member.
But because I don't know if you've seen him when he was on the Jimmy Fallon show, and he tells his story of how he was sitting in, I think it was a bronze shell when somebody came in and they tried to do whatever around the place. And it was so funny. He tell a story and he looking at him and then he flipped the guy over. So yeah,
we have a lot of stories like that. People get confused.
So I have to send that to you. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like he was at the bronze shell spot down in, yeah.
He was interviewed for the book as well.
Okay.
He's in the book. Yeah, it was good.
So Rhino got us up here at 8:59 with the most important question answered. So do you have any announcements, before we leave that you want people to know? We're running the information again across the show that people can see. And I don't know if you've seen the comments from 420 Fellowship, and they appreciate the knowledge displayed. It's wonderful to see such educated Black men trailblazing in the unfair, inequitable cannabis industry. So I don't know if you saw that, but that was one of the posts that was put up,
No, I saw stuff over there, but I wasn't really paying attention. That's nice.
You was concentrating. You had your notes that you was trying to. Well, y'all have the last words. Is there anything that you want us to know?
I would just tell the people, if you go to nj.gov/cannabis, that's the page for the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Mm-hmm. They list all the meetings there, the schedule. Mm-hmm. You can sign up. You should sign up, right? And then try to go, like I said, our address or bubboxfarms.com. You can put that on there too. Just connect with other folks, and that way we can meet up before the meetings and all say the same thing over and over and over again. That's how we win.
And would it help if, when people are not getting things and it's stuck between a government process, would it help for people to make phone calls to their local city council members to say, hey,
Absolutely.
This is in orange because they don't listen.
No. But here's the thing, though. You run against them.
Yeah.
Sure. Some of these council seats with cities of fairly big are won by 800 votes. Yeah. Total, not difference. I mean, they got 800 votes. People got more followers on Instagram.
Right. And what you're doing actually seems like it's very popular with the people who are in orange. I was going to also open it up to DJ Rhino. DJ Rhino, is there anything you want to say?
Just real quick, man. We just yesterday we had a birthday of the funk god right here, George Clinton. I want to say happy birthday to George Clinton. We don't have enough time to go into all of the things that he brought to music and to funk and man, just to the hearts, man, of music love. You know what I'm saying? But definitely happy born day to George Clinton.
And isn't there a connection between George Clinton and Newark?
Yeah, he was what was he? Was it Patterson? I think he came up in Patterson.
Plainfield.
In Plainfield, that's what it was. Plainfield. I knew it was one of the P's. Yeah, he came up in Plainfield. So so that's the connection with him, man. He came out of Plainfield, and then he took it around the world, man. He took it around the country, then took it around the world, and everybody followed the style of P-Funk, and I mean everybody, man. I say George Clinton was like the Rakim or the Richard Pryor of funk. Where when he came out, everybody before him and after him followed him. You know what I'm saying? And took after his style.
Well, and I would also say that, he graduated from Avon Avenue School in Newark.
This is Newark. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a definite Newark connection. There was an article that was done recently where he talks about the roots of P-Funk began at Avon Avenue.
All right.
Yeah. Definitely. Also want to say happy anniversary to Large Professor and Main Source. It's the anniversary of their debut album, Breaking Atoms. They came out back in 1991 on this day today. Yeah, man. And they came coming out of Queens. It was Large Professor, and they had songs like Looking Out the Front Door. Just a friendly game of baseball that was talking about police brutality. Friendly game of baseball. Snake Eyes. They had what's it up? Peace is not a word to play. They had so many hits on that album, man.
Travis is like your amen corner. Every time you say something,
yeah, he like the ad lib. Yeah.
I'm trying to get him to say live.
He a hype man. He's your hype man. Well, shout out George Clinton. I want to shout out to all the Qs because they would be partying as soon as they hear that George Clinton. But still, so shout out to the Qs and George Clinton.
Now, Donna, you sent me the link. I saw it before. I watched it a few times. You wanted to say something about it? About DJ K Slay's 110 deep, rolling 110 deep.
And this Jonathan Austin and Ed Riley, if you're in the background, don't yell at me. But this right here, we have to put some time, and we're gonna have to make some phone calls because one of the DJs is I was just impressed with this case. Like he had how many? It was 110 DJs, and
he started off with 50.
Woo! It was hot.
He started off doing 50. He started off doing rolling 50 deep. And then he said he was going to do 100 deep. I don't even think I heard 100 deep, but he did 110 deep.
Yeah.
And it's 40 minutes long. The song is 40 minutes long.
And the whole thing is fire. And I'm like, and just seeing everybody's style individual, but it's almost like they're from anywhere back from the 80s and 90s. He has a mix of
every era. And some of the people really shocked me that popped up. Like Mike C from right out here in East Orange. Yeah. Yes, Mike C from East Orange. He was on it. Copeland Rock, which was DJ Kool Herc's MC.
Wait,
Copeland Rock, he was on it.
I was coming out the house and Mike C was walking down the street and he was like, Donna, go check this out, go do it now. And I put it on and it was just bamming. But who's got on the rapper back in the day. Don't push me cause I'm close.
Oh yeah, Melly Mel.
Melly Mel
was in there.
He looked
Grandmaster Cass.
How old is Melly Mel?
So it looks like
Melly Mel is about 61.
And just let me say that, Jonathan, we have to talk about this. Melly Mel 61 probably looked better than everybody else from every era that was on that, and it was just phenomenal. But we have to take time and talk about this next week. And I'll see if we can get Mike on, and you can reach out to your people because I know I can get Mike. It was bananas.
Yeah. And so thank you.
And Trek was good too. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. Trek.
That's right. I was going to say thank you to all the guests that were here tonight, from the disciples to the incredible journalists that we had talking about Haiti and really enlightened us. And thank both of you, Levi and Travis, for coming out as well. And we've got to have you back because you need to I like that you were keeping track of the politics of this because I think that's really important and all the things that get left that go through the hole. So I appreciate not just your commentary, I appreciate your research, and I appreciate the attention to detail that you were giving us regarding the actual law, the intent of the law, and how it's being carried out.
And keep us posted. So if you need to, call Levi, hit us up or say, hey, we need to come on. We need to update you. We need, to organize the people. Please keep us informed so that we can keep the community informed what's going on.
Absolutely. Especially what's going on with the council in Orange. So, all right. So thank you much. We're getting ready to close out. So everyone be safe. Have a good night. Have a good week. And good night.
All right. Night.